It's not something you teach. You go out and do something. I created Tribe 29 because I didn't want to create a business alone. So I have all these entrepreneurial women that are also building a business, and we're all doing it together. Define who it is that you want to hang out with, and then create it. I wanted to hang out with entrepreneurial people. I really liked people that were into consciousness and spirituality, and I went out there and I created that.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 103 of the Andrew Deitch Podcast. What's up? I'm coming to you today from rainy and cold Atlanta, Georgia. Not very fun, but if this is your first time listening to the podcast, number one, thank you so much for checking this episode out. It really means the world to me that you're listening, you know? There's like a million other things you could be listening to, and you chose this show. Pretty cool. But if this is your first time listening, if you don't know already, the show is all about having meaningful in-person conversations with the most fascinating people I know. And I love talking to people who are chasing their dreams, whether it's entrepreneurs, world travelers, athletes, doctors, influencers, whoever. I've done it over 100 times now. We sit down together in person always, and I let them share their story with me, and that is pretty awesome. So before I start the show, wanted to mention that this episode has been brought to you by the Andrew Deitch Podcast Internship Program. The podcast is really growing, and we're hiring some interns. And if you're hired as one of our interns, you will not just be treated as some sort of coffee runner or some busy worker. We're looking for someone with an entrepreneurial spirit, passion for learning, an open mind, and a solid understanding of podcasts and social media culture. So if you or anyone you know is looking for opportunities in videography, audio editing, graphic design, animation, photography, social media strategy, public relations, podcast scheduling, prep, or research, then please visit andrewdeitch.com/internships for more details and to apply. All right, so my guest today is the amazing Chelsae Zirna. And Chelsae is a digital nomad and a women's entrepreneurial coach who coaches women on how to use their intuition in their businesses. And I actually met Chelsae earlier this year, and since then she has quit her job, put all of her stuff in storage, and she's currently living in Bali for a while until she moves on to the next place. That's what digital entrepreneurs and digital nomads can do. And that's, it's pretty freaking awesome if you ask me. But during our conversation, we talked about how she embarked on this entrepreneurial journey after years of working in corporate America, her experience in sales, overcoming objections from her family, and so much more. And I know you guys are going to absolutely love this episode. So without any further ado, please welcome the brilliant and amazing Chelsae Zirna. And we're live. Chelsae Zirna. Am I saying it correctly? Zirna?
You are.
Zirna? I'm sure you get like some other...
Zirna. I get everything under the planet. Zirna.
Zirna. That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Okay, Chelsae Zirna. I'm here. I feel like the universe has tried to connect us so many times.
It has.
A lot of times.
We ran into each other in an airport in Amsterdam. You can't
get
any more universe connecting than that.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Also, we were randomly partners at a workout thing.
Oh yeah.
That was the first time.
I showed up at your birthday party.
And then you showed up at my birthday party, and then
randomly.
Literally
I didn't
randomly.
Even know.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of run-ins. I'm gonna lower my chair because I feel like you're lower than me. Okay, there we go. Ooh. Now we're same, kind of similar height.
Yeah.
This is weird. I've never done this many live things at a time. So if everyone is hanging out live, what up?
There's a lot of live right now.
Yeah, so if people that are just listening to the audio version of this, I am in my new podcast studio, which is pretty sweet. It's kind of surreal that now I can actually officially say that. But yeah, it's not fully complete yet. We don't have all the decorations and everything, and it took me way too long to get everything set up, but I think that it's getting here.
I love it. I like the white and the lights. It's pretty legit.
Yeah, we've got a really cool view of the city. You can't really see it from your angle, but if you're watching this, but I'll share it on my story or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, back to Chelsae. So me and Chelsae, we literally met at a workout thing. Then you showed up on my birthday. Then we met in Amsterdam, and then now we're back in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
So Chelsae, if people run into you in an elevator or in an Amsterdam airport or whatever, I'm sure you met a lot of people there, and they say, "Oh, cool, what do you do?" What is your initial response? Because obviously that's kind of a loaded question, but how do you answer that?
I say for work or for fun.
Okay, let's go work first.
Okay, yeah. I'm a coach. I'm a women's entrepreneurial coach, but I coach entrepreneurial women on intuition. Yes.
I like that. That was very concise. You have your branding down.
Oh, yes. Well, it's very simple. I think a lot of people that are coaching on personal development and things, but I like to coach. I like to have you be your own coach. So I teach you to coach yourself by getting in touch with intuition.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. So now I would say, what do you do for fun?
Ooh, that's interesting. So I just put all my stuff in storage and I am traveling. So I'm a digital nomad officially.
That's fun?
Yeah. I just spent my last month in Barcelona and now I'll be in Southeast Asia.
So for people that are not woke enough, what is a digital nomad? What exactly is that?
Woke. Well, it's somebody who has an online business and they travel.
There we go.
Yeah.
So they're not like tied to a physical location.
Correct. Yeah,
Gotcha.
They're nomadic, meaning they have
and
no home.
they're digital because their business is online.
Correct. Yes.
And they're nomadic.
Exactly.
Very cool.
All of the above.
I definitely I think a lot of people aspire to be digital nomads but don't really know how.
Yeah.
It's become like a big kind of thing that's like very appealing. Like, oh, I want to travel the world and get paid.
Totally.
Like, that sounds dope.
And you know, it's so funny because I just had a conversation an hour ago with somebody who's working in the corporate world, and he's like, you know, my job is becoming more remote. I see people doing this. Like, is it possible to do it? And when you don't actually know someone doing it, you're like, oh, that's just for like Instagram models and Instagram travel people. But really, it's not. There's people all over the world doing this, and it's so big. They just had a conference in Portugal last week called DNX, and it was a conference where they got all the nomadic people together, and they were just talking about what it's like to be a digital nomad. They were talking about taxes and like how to maximize your tax returns, because when you're living in other countries, you have to think about stuff like that.
And I mean, it's a fairly new concept. Like, the internet's not that old, so it hasn't been that possible for people to actually work remotely like that.
Well, also Airbnb is not that old, and the whole concept of working online it is kind of new, but people are they're doing it more often. There's a huge community out there.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
It's actually really cool. I just came from you can travel and work by yourself, but you can also do it with people. So when I was in Barcelona, I was co-living with a group called Lifestyle Engineers. It was my mastermind group. And we were all traveling and working together. So we all have our own businesses, but we all live together. And it's a cool way to do it. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I've definitely heard about these like co-living houses. And I feel like also, you know, it's not super like foreign to live with the people you work with. You know, like if you've watched like the Facebook movie, Social Network, like they were all like a bunch of coders like working and doing all these like crazy hackathon things like, you know, all night long. It like makes sense if people would like live and work together.
Totally, yeah.
Unless they drive you crazy.
Yeah, even if you're working on different businesses
exactly.
too. It's like you can do...
No, that's like literally like what a mastermind is. You're trying to like use your different businesses and ideas and strengths to like help the collective.
And the best part is when you're starting a business, a lot of times you're doing it alone, right? You're an entrepreneur doing it alone. So you just come together and you all build your businesses alone, but together. So you can share talents and skills and whatever you're building, and it's actually kind of cool. It's a good way to do it.
Definitely.
I like it.
I'm just making sure that people can hear us. Can you hear us? By not woke enough, do you mean not awake? That's funny.
Definitely can hear us.
I'm not gonna really respond to the comments too much, but that was funny. By woke, I mean like you are not like enlightened to these ideas.
Like, I like that term too, because I'm a coach.
Yeah.
It's all about enlightenment.
Yes. I feel like woke is like, a lot of times you're more aware of certain like social constructs or like certain things that like you typically wouldn't think about, but the fact that you've been like awoken to these concepts, you like think about them a lot.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
That was a really good definition of a really interesting, like, common word.
Yeah.
That was deep.
Like, bro, are you woke?
It.
Are you hella woke? I'm woke AF, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chelsae, I like to share the story of how people got to where they are today. So
cool.
I look at Chelsae now. I've only known you for a few months. And I only know you from, you know, a few run-ins and what you put online, but I don't know anything about your childhood or anything like that. So let's go back for a second.
All right. Right.
How did the Chelsae of today become the Chelsae of today? Like what like major life events and stuff led up to that? Where were you born, first of all?
Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, have you been to Buffalo, New York?
I've never been to Buffalo, New York. I'm going to New York City next week for the first time.
All right.
I'm very excited about that, but I'm not going to Buffalo.
Get on a car and drive 7 hours west and you'll be there.
I am not planning on doing that, but if I had the time, then I might.
Nice. It's right near Niagara Falls, so it is the seventh wonder of the world, I think.
How do you determine what is a wonder of the world?
Good question. I don't know.
They're like, oh, this is one of the 19 wonders of the world. Like, oh, convenient that it's 19 long and yours is the 19th one.
Right? Like, who created that list?
Like, how many wonders of the world are there? Like, I feel like there's hundreds.
Right?
How do you rank them?
I know. I don't know who created that.
Yeah, like I went to Blue Lagoon. I went to Blue Lagoon in Iceland, and they're like, oh, it's one of the 10 wonders of the world. And I was like, I thought it was 7 wonders of the world. They're like, no, it's one of the natural wonders of the world. Like, because some of them are like the Great Pyramids or something that's not a natural wonder of the world. It's like, all right, bitch, like, clear your shit up. Like, let's get clear on what we're talking about here. This is a natural wonder. Is this just a wonder? Like, are natural wonders wonders? Like, do natural wonders not qualify for a wonder of the world? I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Buffalo, New York
I digress.
is where I grew up.
Niagara Falls, I feel like, is definitely a natural wonder of the world.
Yeah.
I would rank it pretty high.
I recommend looking at it from the Canadian side. Actually, the United States side isn't as exciting as the Canadian side. They really built theirs up because they have a college there. Lots of money has been invested into it.
Interesting.
The New York side
so the
isn't
New
as
York
exciting.
side's not good?
Not really. And I don't want to, say that, but I'm saying it. Yeah, it sounds great.
Don't want to shit on New York, but step your game up, New York. Sounds like Canada is
totally
killing us.
So yeah, Buffalo, New York. That's where I grew up. And all of my parents, a long list.
I'm only going to speak to about 2 of them.
We're in the medical field, so I grew up and I was like, I want to be a doctor. I'm set on this. So my senior year of high school, instead of going to high school, I went to a hospital and I did my work there, my schooling there. So I shadowed doctors and nurses. I was like, I'm set on this. Like, I want to be a doctor. And then when I graduated high school, I got a letter in the mail, and it said,
you can't be a doctor.
No. It said, do you want to make $15 an hour? And I said, yeah, I need to pay for college. So I went to this interview, got this job, and I was selling.
Were you still in New York?
I was still in New York.
Buffalo, New York.
I was going to go to school at Buffalo, New York, and I did for my first year. But I didn't want to, right? I wanted to go
out of
cool.
state, like somewhere badass.
What was
your like ideal dream school?
The University of Georgia.
Oh, really?
That's how I got. Well, I don't want to ruin the story, but
no spoilers. Jeez.
Yeah, the University of Georgia. I know. So, yeah. I was like, I want to be there.
I think our Facebook stream went down. Oh, well.
Oh, shoot.
It's okay.
Yeah.
They can watch the beginning.
They can watch the beginning. They'll never know what happens.
They'll have to listen to the
audio.
audio.
Do I ever make it to Georgia? I don't know.
That's why we have this going. Because
watch the podcast to find out more.
Exactly. Instagram Live might still be on. If you're still on, hello. But anyways, either way, I'm not mad. Okay, so sorry, side hill. So you're in New York, you get a letter in the mail, you want to work $15 an hour because you need to pay for college.
Yes.
So what was this
So take the job, and it was selling Cutco cutlery, like kitchen cutlery.
Vector marketing.
It was vector marketing. And I originally took the job because I wanted to get to know all the doctors in the area and find out what doctor I wanted to be, right? So I was like, okay, let's see.
You're going to sell knives to doctors.
Yeah, I was going to get into the most intimate environments.
Sell them a scalpel.
And actually, they do use them in their surgical. That's the same knives they use in their surgical.
Really?
Yeah.
They use Cutco?
Yeah.
So they're cutting a steak at home?
Yeah.
They're cutting a steak at home and then they're going to work and cutting a human cadaver.
I don't know if that's sanitary enough, but I'm sure someone has thought about that.
No, not the same exact knife, but the same model. Yeah. I'm not completely. I'm not assuming that a doctor would eat the same knife. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. So I took that job for a summer. By the end of the summer, I was like, I want to be a manager. I want to have my own office.
A manager of Cutco.
Yeah.
So for people that aren't familiar with Vector and Cutco, it's like kind of like an MLM, but like also you're selling knives, but also you can recruit people to like you can you can like get like, okay, if I was selling the knives too, and then I was like, yo, Chelsae, like I found this really cool opportunity, you can sell knives too. I would make like a slight percentage of like whatever you sell, kind of, or not really?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
So there's it's kind of like insurance. It's kind of like insurance. So you have like a manager, and then they hire a team. They like recruit a team. And you can you can like recommend friends. You don't really get anything, like you don't really get paid off of it. The manager does though. So the way that the manager makes money is they get X percent, like 2% of every, maybe it's like 10% of everybody that they sell, all of their recruits. So they make 10% of all that.
Interesting.
So I was like, I want to do this. Like I really like sales. And I was like, I don't think I want to be a doctor. Like I really like marketing and selling. Which was kind of like Why
did you want to be a doctor in the first place? Because that intrigues me. Like, why? What was it about? Like, was there one day where it just clicked for you, or like?
I just grew up in it, and I really liked understanding the human body.
Did I miss something? Are your parents doctors?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I missed that completely. My bad. I was probably distracted with
all of my parents. Remember?
Yes, all of your parents are
all
doctors.
Two of them.
Okay. So,
well,
and do you have
my mom's
siblings?
a nurse. My dad's a doctor. My brother's a PA, physician's assistant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. For the audience, they're like, you dumbass. She already said this.
There's a lot going on, right?
Sometimes I'll re-listen to podcasts, and I'm like, I don't even remember them saying that, but that's cool.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's the beauty of recording it.
I just like grew up in the field, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I still love the human body, and I think I just wanted to help people, which everybody wants to help people. Yeah,
everyone says
right?
that. Like people that they're like, why do you want to be a nurse? It's like, I just want to help people.
And it's like, how do you want to help people though, right? It's like, so that's what being an 18-year-old, I thought I just wanted to help people.
And also like you're taught that like doctors make a lot of money too, like.
Yeah, and it was just,
It's like a successful field. Like it's not like people are ever like, he became a doctor, what a loser. Like doctor is like a respected position.
Yeah, exactly.
In society,
and when you're 18, you're like, you think about different things.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I was thinking about. Like, how can I help people? I liked the human body. I liked health. And I just knew the lingo. And I was like, well, this is cool. And then I shadowed them.
That is cool.
And I was like, I saw surgeries. I saw live births.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw a lot of things.
It's pretty intense.
Some of it was intense. Some of it surgeries were kind of violent. Like hip replacements. Like, wow, that's a weird thing to see.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I didn't want to do it, I saw it and I was like, this isn't for me. And that combined with me being in sales, I was like, this is totally for me.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I remember like dissecting something and I got a little, like I never get queasy like watching stuff, but like I was doing it and like slicing into stuff and I'm like, yeah, I normally don't get grossed out by this, but I'm feeling kind of like hot and like I'm about to like pass out or something. Like I don't know, I can't do it.
I
Not
know,
for me.
right? It's a little weird. It almost feels like you're playing a video game when you're in surgery. It doesn't feel real because the head is behind a curtain and you're.
No. It is very. I think you have to kind of do it that way though because you don't want to be like emotionally attached to the.
Yeah.
You don't want to be thinking about them as a person necessarily when you're trying to do such a, like.
Yeah, which is the part I didn't like. You never actually talk to the person, really.
Yeah,
it's very like unattached, and I was like,
that's why like when you hear about stuff where they're like, yeah, his arms got amputated because he got mixed up in surgery for the wrong guy, and like have you ever heard like crazy stories like that? And
or
it's
you
like,
got the
how
wrong
did that even
arm.
happen? It's because like the surgery guy like never even spoke to this person, and you didn't even see his face. Like, didn't they know they were amputating the wrong person? It's like, not really. Like, I'm surprised they don't get it mixed up more often.
And they're on a schedule too, so it's like you have 30 minutes with this patient, 4 hours with this patient. That's why malpractice insurance is so high. It's like there's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. It's very high risk.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not in that field, to be honest.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. Thank you, parents, but no thank you. I don't want to do that.
No, and that's a weird thing about, like, growing up, too. Like, one of the things I wanted to talk about on, like, my podcast in general is, like, helping people navigate, like, all these weird things about life. Because there's always these, like, big moments where at the time they feel so big, but then, like, looking back on it, you're kind of like, whoa, if I would have chosen like a different thing or like not ever gotten the call or gotten the thing in the mail or whatever, like everything would be so different,
Right.
And those moments are like really crazy to think about.
Yeah, that letter in the mail changed my life. Right? I could be a doctor right now. And I
threw all those vector ones away. Damn.
Right.
Could have fucking changed my life. No, I'm just kidding.
But you're right though. Everything happens for a reason.
It's very true.
I really believe that.
Yeah, and if you get really down the rabbit hole of that, you can like trip yourself out about like anything because you're like, whoa, what if I was supposed to talk to that guy in the subway and I didn't and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
But because you didn't, that also happened for a reason.
Exactly. You're like, well, maybe I didn't because I would have gotten trapped in a conversation and then I wouldn't have met this person or maybe I was blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you can go down the rabbit hole real deep with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so you started doing Vector. You wanted to become a manager.
Yes.
Because you wanted to like make more money.
Well, no, I really liked sales, but I really also liked teaching and coaching. And I actually didn't know the term coaching at the time. I liked teaching. And I was like, I could either sell a bunch of Cutco and make money, or I could teach a bunch of people to do it and generate more income doing that, but also like impact people, right? Yeah. And I really liked that.
Were you good at selling? Like, did you make?
I was good at selling.
You were a good salesman.
I was.
The thing that I hated about Cutco, not that I hated, like, so I got involved in an MLM company early on too. That was like what kind of like started my entrepreneurial stuff.
I read that somewhere.
Vima. Yeah, I was in Vima. And the thing about Vima that I liked was that like once you sold someone on it, it was like a recurring thing because they were consumable products. That was one thing I didn't like about Cutco is like you can only sell someone like a really good knife once because like unless you sell them like different ones or different packages because it's like once they have like all your knives, if they break or they suck and they like go dull and they need new ones, they're not gonna buy from you again because that like defeats the purpose.
Yeah, and they're also guaranteed, so they can just go to the company. If they break, they get a new one.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like you're constantly trying to replenish your
But here's the good thing. Once
it wasn't a high turnover.
They want more. So either they'll call you or
that makes sense. Like they buy like a few knives and then they're like, oh my god, these knives changed my life. I need all the knives. I need to replace all the sharp objects in my life with Cutco sharp objects, and my life will be.
It teaches you to
complete.
build relationships because it's like when they realize they want more, it's like, all right, who are they gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
And if they can't reach Ghostbusters, then they're gonna call you.
Hopefully.
Because they need knives, and Ghostbusters probably don't have knives.
Hopefully Ghostbusters doesn't answer. I'm really hoping that happens.
Okay. So you wanted to like teach people how to do this. So did you? I'm assuming you became.
And it became this thing where, they were just like, you can either be a manager in the Buffalo office, or this girl came up to me and she was my manager at the time, like assistant manager. She's like, I'm about to move to this city. I want you to come with me and start one from scratch. And I was like, okay, I'm guaranteed to be successful here, or I can take a risk and just start something from scratch with you.
In this new town, they don't use knives.
This town, I have no idea what it is.
They just use their teeth to cut everything.
Yeah, who knows, right? They could be totally barbaric. I don't even know.
Where was the new location?
Elmira, New York, the middle of nowhere. I was like, I don't even know what this place is. I've never been there. And it's a country area, right? No one goes there.
That name sounds bad.
It's Elmira. It's where the Corning Glass Museum is. So I at least knew Corning. They made glass there. I'm like, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right.
I've heard of Corning.
They do something. Okay, so you've heard of it.
They make Gorilla Glass. They make all the phones.
Like blowing glass.
Well, they make that, but also Corning makes Gorilla Glass, which is the glass that's on like every smartphone.
Ooh.
Like literally every phone uses Corning Gorilla Glass.
All right.
Like iPhones, Samsung phones, like pretty much every good phone is using Corning glass.
Cool. Yeah.
Anyways.
So yeah.
Cool stuff.
It was interesting. So I decided to do it. I was like, I want to take a risk. Why not? Mm-hmm. And so I moved to Elmira with this girl she was my manager. And by the end of the summer, she became my best friend. We lived together. She was like 4 years older than me. And we killed it as an office. Like we were the #1 office in the nation.
Really?
And yeah.
Damn.
And I mean, she's a great.
Did you win all the trips to Jamaica and shit?
We did win a trip. We won a trip to Hawaii. I had to go back to college, so I couldn't go. Actually, I don't even know if I was eligible. I think she was gonna win it. I was her assistant. So she was the main boss and I was the assistant at the time.
I see.
And then the next summer I opened up my own, and the following summer I opened up my own again. So I did this all throughout college.
Dang.
I moved to Ithaca, New York, then Parkersburg, West Virginia, like randomly West Virginia. And I liked it. I liked selling and I liked marketing. And,
nice.
And so when I graduated college.
But where were you going to college?
I didn't even tell you the biggest part of that story. Okay, so midway through that summer, I was like, her name was Desiree. I was like, Desiree.
Your partner at
Yes.
Cutco.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was like, I do not want to go back to Buffalo. Like, I want to go to the University of Georgia. And she's like, do it. And I'm like, but it's so expensive. I have to pay out-of-state tuition. And she was like, Chelsae, do it. And I was like, it's so expensive. And I was like, I wish I could have said YOLO. I'm so risk averse. I was like, all right, Desiree, here's what I'm going to do. I am not going to sell Cutco this week, or I'm not going to be a manager this week, and I'm going to sell Cutco with all the sales reps. So at this point, we had a team. And I was like, if I can sell $10,000 in a week, I will prove to myself that I can make enough money to go to Georgia.
If you were selling $10,000 a week, is that you're talking about profit, or are you talking about like actual Cutco?
Well, you make 50%. So I was like,
so you're gonna make $5,000.
Yeah, and I was like, if I can do this,
$5,000 in a week is no joke,
right? And I was like, and that was it.
Hey, I'd take $5,000.
And I was like, I can prove to myself that I can make money if I needed to at any point in time. Well, also to pay for college.
Yeah.
I need to pay for college.
No, but seriously. But at the time, were you still going for doctor stuff?
No, I had.
What did you change to?
Because I had done a year of college and I was going for marketing.
Gotcha.
So this was after a year of college at this point.
Your first year was probably not anything really related to doctor stuff anyways, right? Like, you probably had a lot of science classes.
Half of the year was doctor,
and
then I switched. I was like, I like this, and I want to do this.
Were your parents like upset about that, or like was that a big thing?
No.
That they were like,
I don't think
you're
so.
You're betraying the family. you're gonna go into another field.
My mom was like, I'd be happy if you did anything, which was nice because.
Were you living at home like during when you were going to college?
No, that was the deal. If I went to Buffalo, I wanted to dorm.
Okay, good.
I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I am not living at home.
That's cool. So you were probably like super close to your family's house, but you still like lived away.
I was 30 minutes away, which was really nice. So it gave me some freedom and some space to actually make my own decisions. And I was like, I really don't want to be a doctor. And they were cool with it. I think they just wanted me to be in state. So when I gave them that news, they were not cool with it. They were like, you gotta be kidding me, like this is crazy. And so that was hard because I was
going to UGA was harder than telling them you didn't want to be a doctor.
Yes, for sure.
Gotcha.
They were like, you're paying out-of-state tuition, this makes no sense.
Why was UGA so appealing?
Well, I was a gymnast and they had one of the best gymnastics teams in the country. And I just wanted to be in that environment and I wanted to.
Were you doing gymnastics in college?
So I wasn't a gym dog because only like 7 girls get to really compete, and
but at Buffalo,
and I probably wouldn't have made the team, to be honest. Like I definitely wouldn't have made the team. But I ended up doing the club. I started the club. They didn't have a club team, so I started the club team there.
At UGA or in Buffalo?
At Buffalo.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I mean, I'm sorry. No, UGA at Georgia.
But at Buffalo, you weren't doing gymnastics, or you were?
I was. They didn't have Division I, so I was just doing it, and then I went to Georgia and continued doing it.
That's cool.
And they didn't have clubs, so I was like,
gymnast.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Podcasting, y'all.
I know, right? All the things you learn.
So much fun. Okay, so you went to Georgia, started the gymnastics club. That's cool.
Yeah, and also I just really liked the sports. Like I just liked that they had the SEC. And they didn't like Buffalo's not like that. You go to school and you're like confined into this concrete building. And like there's not a lot of alumni base. But when you go to a school like Georgia, like you're in the SEC, people are really involved in the alumni because of that. Like it's just people are really tied in. Like people come back on a game day. Like that does not happen at Buffalo.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like the alumni thing kind of creeps me out in a way because it's kind of like, dude, let it go.
Where'd you go to school?
I dropped out of school.
Yeah.
I went to Georgia College. I wanted to go to UGA when I was in high school. Yeah. But like I feel like it's a little bit of like clinging to the past a little too much. It's sometimes a little cringy. Like I get it. Like,
I can see that.
I get it. Like, okay, cool, yeah, like root for your team. But like when your life is like still all about your college football team and you like go to all the games every weekend, like I get it. Like I'm not trying to hate on anybody. It's just a little bit weird to me. Like it's a little bit cringy. Like once you really like zoom out and you actually analyze it for what it is, like, okay, so you're telling me that these guys that are now like 50 are still like super psyched every single week about their old school's team. Like it's just weird.
And if
like,
you have kids that go to the school, that makes sense. But if you're just like living in the past,
the kids thing is even creepier because then you're just living vicariously through your kids. Like, get a life, get your own life. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll understand once I'm that old, but like I don't get it. Like, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, you know, do whatever makes you happy. Like, it doesn't affect me in any way, so I shouldn't be shitting on it. But it is like, I just feel like it needs to be said sometimes because like people like get in their head about what is normal and what is weird, and they'll look at something and be like, oh, that's weird. And it's like, well, it's only weird because you're not familiar with what it is. Like, it's only weird because it's not in your world, but like somewhere else, that's normal, and what you do every day is weird as shit. Like, you know, anyways, sorry. Sidetrack. But anyway, so you're saying like the alumni is like way more involved, which is super true. Like, you go to UGA on a weekend, you're going to see a lot of people that went there a long time ago and are not students currently.
Which helps with job placement too.
Yeah.
So like there was a lot of reasons I chose Georgia. And so going back to the story.
Meaning like a Georgia alumni is going to be more willing to hire a Georgia alumni. Gotcha.
Or at least recommend you somewhere else. It's just people are more tied in, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And at Buffalo, you don't see that at all. I mean, I didn't
so it's
graduate
about who
from
you
there,
know.
But yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I would agree.
Yeah, especially in business. And I knew I wasn't going to go into medicine, so in business, it's different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so you went to UGA.
How I got to UGA.
Yeah, okay, so how did you get
So
there?
this is like the biggest thing. So that summer, I was like, if I can sell $10,000 during this week, and normally you sell $1,000 in a week, so this is like abnormal.
10x.
Yeah, I'm 10xing it. And I was like, then I can prove to myself I can do anything. So
that's a bold claim.
yeah. But it was like it was like a proof to myself.
It stopped. It's okay. I knew it was going to. I just needed to do this.
Like, not recording anymore.
Hey, there we go.
Okay.
It's because, okay, so quick side note. Cameras are annoying because a regular camera, if it's being sold in the United States, it's either classified as a photo camera or a video camera. And if it's a video camera, it gets taxed higher. And so in order to classify it as a photo camera that can also record video and not a video camera that can also take pictures, it has to set a recording limit of 30 minutes. So once you hit 30 minutes, it's not like the camera isn't capable of recording over 30 minutes. It's literally like a tax evasion thing where they're like,
no way.
Oh, we're going to stop the recording at 30 minutes, so now we can classify this camera as a photo camera, not a video camera.
Wow, really? That's super interesting.
It's really dumb.
Now does it split up your frame
we reached 30
into
minutes, and it splits it into like 2 clips. It's annoying.
Wow.
But anyways, I have a workaround for it, but I haven't bought the thing that lets me work around it. So for right now, I'm just like, oh, it stopped. I'm just going to start it again.
Super interested in that. So you're taxed differently based on your...
Not me. Like the import tax is on the companies. So that's why they do it. Because they don't want to get taxed.
Super interesting.
For people that are listening, we're talking about the camera. Like my camera that's recording us right now. Stop.
Yeah, anyone going into podcasting or videoing.
Yeah, but if you get a different camera or you get a camera that's like designed for video, it won't have those limits, but it's just going to cost more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Anyways,
mental note.
So, you wanted to sell $10,000 worth of Cutco.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you did it.
So I did. Well, I did. I got
actual.
close. I think I got to like 7.5. But for me,
7.5 is
it
still
was
no
pretty
joke.
damn good, right? Like it was like, all right, I can practically do this. And this means like if I can do this in a week, like I am capable of paying for college. Like I know I can do this. And like here's the deal. My parents were not going to help me if I went to Georgia.
Damn.
So it was me paying out of state tuition all by myself. And I was
How
like,
much was it per year?
$30,000.
Damn.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Especially like, yeah, so it was a big risk, but it proved to me that I could do it. So I was like, okay, this is my test. And I got close. And I was like, all right, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
So
It's like shoot for the moon, because if you miss, you'll still land among the stars kind of thing. Like,
exactly.
I wanted to hit 10,000, I hit 7.5, but that's still way more than I would have gotten, so I'll take it. Yeah, I like that.
Exactly.
Nice.
So I did it. So I went to Georgia.
Was Desiree impressed?
I don't know. Well, she was proud. She was really happy that I was doing something for me versus always thinking, just being so risk averse, right? Like moving out to her was a huge risk, and then this. She's basically always the person
You're
in my
saying
life.
you're risk averse, but everything that you've done,
It's just
and like you're like, I'm a digital nomad, and I moved to Georgia, and I moved to like bumfuck nowhere.
I know, but the
It doesn't
thought
sound
that
like
goes
you're risk
into it
averse.
is just like mentally so taxing.
I
It's
feel
like,
you. I feel you.
It takes
feel
me
like
a while to
everyone-
get there.
I feel like most people are just risk averse, but they're also scared.
Yeah.
Like it's not even that they're like don't want to take a risk. They're just like they're just real scared of like the unknown.
Exactly. I think that's it. I think it's being comfortable with the unknown and the risk. And I was able to like do these tests for myself to prove like, all right, like you can do this. And it's like little things I had to put in place. Like, and you see that throughout the whole thing I'm about to tell you. I keep doing that throughout. And it's like, it makes me comfortable with risk. It's like proving it to myself, like, all right, you can do this, you can do this.
Yeah, because like once you do hard shit, then you're like, oh, this is nothing. When you have to like encounter something else.
Yeah.
That's totally.
And growing up as a gymnast, I did that too. It's like, all right, you're about to backflip on a 4-inch wide beam. Like, can you do this? All right, let's try it on the floor first. Like, it's like little things that you have to like prove to yourself.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the money from Cutco.
Got the money.
You moved down to UGA.
Went to Georgia.
Did you know anybody?
Oh, no, I was starting from scratch. I didn't know a single person.
Nice.
It was tough, and I joined.
Were you in the
Greek
dorms
life.
or like what was the deal?
Yeah, I was in the athletic dorms, which was nice.
Oh, cool.
So
Because you were applying to be a gymnast, or like why?
I think it was pretty serendipitous. I happened to be placed there randomly. I wasn't an athlete. Everyone else was an athlete. I think it was because I was a transfer. So
And that was
put
just
me
where they had a
there.
room or whatever?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was cool because
cool.
that was like the crowd that I was living near the gym dogs, so it was nice to like be in that environment.
Yeah.
So it was
Sweet.
cool.
And gym dogs, for people that don't know, that's like the gymnastics team?
Yeah,
Right?
the
Okay.
gymnastics team, yeah.
Gym dog.
Yeah.
Sounds like a guy named Jim's nickname.
Hey,
like,
Gym
what
Dog.
up, Gym Dog? What up, Gym Dog? How's it going, Jim?
Exactly. Jimbo.
Jimbo, Gym Dog. How's it hanging? Okay, so you're in the athletic dorms.
Yeah.
And you said that was like super good for you, but you're starting from scratch. So I'm assuming you met a lot of people right off the bat.
Yeah, met tons of people. It was a good experience. And when it came time to apply to a job, I had a choice to stick with Vector or do something else. And I was like, I want to do something else. Like, I want to try corporate world. So I applied to IBM. And I wanted to do consulting because consulting is a job you do when you don't know what you want to do, right? So I was like, all right, I want to be a consultant. So I applied, got the job.
What would that exactly mean if you're just a consultant, but you're like a student? Like, what are you consulting on? Like, what are you?
No, I was graduating.
Oh, okay. So this is
I
after you
skipped
graduate.
college.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
You skipped college. College is college. It's
College,
boring.
did
Nothing cool
college.
happened.
Nothing
You're just
cool
gonna skip to
happened.
the end because it sucked. Obviously, my dream of going to UGA down the drain.
All right, well, college was cool.
$90,000.
I did some Greek life. I did like a business fraternity, which was interesting because I was like, it was like co-ed. That was cool.
Yeah.
How
was Greek life?
I wanted to be in a sorority, but when I didn't know this. When I got to college, my first day, I was like, all right, I'm gonna rush. And my roommate was like, oh, today's the last day of rush. And I'm like, what? It happened before school started? They didn't give me a note in the mail. I guess I didn't know. So I missed rush week and I never got to do sorority life. So I joined a business fraternity, which was really cool. Everything happens for a reason, right? Very cool. It ended up being awesome.
Yeah.
And then, what else did I do? I don't know. I just did college. Did
Cool.
marketing, and then.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And what kind of like?
Well, every
you said you
year-
did consulting because you didn't really know what you wanted to do. So you were going into marketing consulting.
Yeah.
Like you're consulting people on there.
It was called it was
Marketing.
called consulting by degree. So it didn't matter what degree you had, and you can consult with that. It was crazy. So
That's kind of scary.
it was interesting.
I'm going to give you advice, but it doesn't matter what I studied.
Yeah. So I ended up doing sports. So I was doing the U.S. Open,
Wow.
Australian Open, and it was like testing. So it wasn't.
So
that
you were
cool,
working
right?
with IBM, but you were doing.
This was at IBM.
So tell me how that worked. What do you mean you were doing?
Okay,
the
so my
US Open?
my first consulting gig at IBM was working on apps and app development, and IBM does all the sports for the tennis and golf.
What do you mean they do all the sports?
Like they create all the apps and they do all the the live streaming. So like when Sharapova hits the ball, it's 100 miles an hour. I don't know how fast the ball goes, but X miles per hour.
It could go 100 miles
and then
an hour,
they
maybe.
give you the stats on the players. So there's people in the back in the
and
control room.
the thing that tells you if the balls on the line and shit like that. Okay.
Well, that's the refs, but IBM is in a room in the back and they're live streaming it and they're
no, but you know
putting
the
up
technology
stats.
where they can replay it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
All of that. Yeah.
The Skyhawk.
Yeah, and doing this person's this years old and this many years old and this is their stats.
Gotcha.
I think they do a lot more. Honestly, I was on the app side, so I don't actually know what they put on the screens.
And these aren't consumer-facing apps. These are apps that the U.S. Open is using in order to these aren't phone apps.
It's consumer-facing too. These are phone
Okay.
apps. So the U.S. Open app, when you download it, you can download it as a consumer. And it'll tell you, okay, this is Nadal against Federer, and this is, who's going, and it'll tell you all of that.
Okay, so they're
app.
creating the phone apps, and then they're also creating applications for the U.S. Open to actually use so that they can, use it in their broadcasting and stuff, too?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they do.
So you're just creating, all the technology around
Yeah.
the U.S. Open and all that stuff. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Makes
So my
sense.
job was a business analyst, so I didn't code, I didn't design, but my job was to communicate between the designers and the coders what needed to be done. So I was the business side of it, which was interesting. It was cool. It was interesting. But then when the Atlanta Falcons stadium was being built, I was really interested in this one partner in the company, and I walked up to him and I'm like, I want to do what you do. Teach me everything.
What was he doing?
He was involved with the Atlanta Falcons stadium and the fan experience. So that's how I got into design thinking. So design thinking is this methodology from Stanford that gets you out of the box and gets you into creating and thinking about things in a totally different way. So erasing everything that you know, and it's if you were to have no thoughts and you didn't know about anything that existed in the past, how would you create this differently?
I like that.
So we did that with the Atlanta Falcons, and then I got really into design thinking, so I started doing it with all these companies. And then I got a letter in my email box, and it was
All starting with letters.
And it was
I'm gonna send you a letter.
You should send me a letter in my email.
life-changing letter.
I read my emails apparently in my letters in the mail. So I was are you entrepreneurial? Do you like managing people? And I was well, yeah, that's all I did at Vector. All I did was manage people, and it was okay, do you want to be an offering manager? And I'm well, what's an offering manager?
A what manager?
An offering manager, a product manager.
An offering manager, gotcha.
Yeah, so I switched into product management the next week. I went to an interview, got the job, still at IBM, did that for a while. And I was bringing products to market. And I was okay, this is cool. So you go through the ideation phase, creating products, putting it out into the world, and
you said this is still at IBM?
Still at IBM,
Okay.
yeah. So I was in IBM security, cybersecurity. So I was totally different field, sports to security. Yeah.
Can we start with S?
I know, right? Exactly. I liked the S's.
Natural transition.
Yeah. So, so I was doing that. And I was liking it, but it was very removed from humanity. It was all in technology, and I never got to talk to humans.
Huh.
And it was
So cybersecurity, what kind of stuff were you involved in? Same kind of thing, you're communicating between designers and...
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So I was the person that linked the so basically I would work with a partner, and the partner would say, okay, here's an opportunity in the market. Let's create this. And they'd pass the idea to me, and I'd say, okay, let's make it happen. So I'd work with the designers, the engineers, and we'd create this thing and get people involved and get people to...
what's an example? There's what's the gap in the market?
Okay, so let's say, so I did server, I don't even know if I want to do this because no one really knows what cybersecurity is. It's server protection. So you have a server and you need to protect it. Okay.
Really? Server protection.
All right, let me do a different one.
You don't say.
Okay, so so you get...
So you hire a security guard to stand in front of this server. That is how cybersecurity works, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know how to describe this. So, basically I would say, okay, IBM, I need 6 engineers and I need 3 designers, and here's the idea. You guys tell me what we need to do to make it happen, and you design it, and these are the people we need to put in place to help like manage it, because I'm not involved in any of that. I'm just involved in actually getting it out into the market. I don't do anything beyond, like, so I get people to manage it while it's out into the market and implement it. So we have like deployment engineers. It's like this big thing. And then we get sellers we train the sellers on how to sell it. So we work with marketing to create all of the material, make a website for it, and then we train all the salespeople to sell it, and then we put all the codes in place so that they get credit for selling it, because IBM is like this big company where you have to like, everyone has to like get credit for it.
I can't even imagine working for a
oh my God,
company
it's so
that
big. It's just like there's so much red tape too. It's like, all right, you can't just put out a product. It's like you have to make sure that like this person's on board with this, and this person's in the loop, and this person like approves it, and then like the coding is right so that when they sell it, they get credit for it all the way up the chain. It's like,
it's like when you're an entrepreneur, like you're like a kayak and you can like go wherever you want, but you can't go that far. And then like a IBM is like a cruise ship, and like to move it, it's gonna move like super slow.
Exactly.
And like it's gonna take forever,
like
but
so
you can
much
go way
effort.
farther, and you can do way bigger things,
Yeah,
and you can like help way more people. You know, it's like it's you know.
Really good analogy. And I realized that when I was doing it, I wanted to be a kayak, and I was moving like a cruise ship. And I knew that, and I felt that the entire time. I liked it because I gained a ton of skills, but I really wanted to be a kayak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what kind of annoys me about like some of the client work that I'm doing right now is I'm like, I just want to create this shit, and like you're having to go through way many people to approve this. Like we already talked about this, like let's do it. And it's like, oh, but we need to like talk to the higher ups and like blah 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 and make sure it's in the budget. And it's like, let's just make this.
Right?
Let's just
and
do this.
People
Like this
aren't
is killing
on board,
the creativity.
It can't move through. And if people, and then the communication has to be so perfect that if something's not communicated and they don't get it, the whole thing can get messed up, and it's like, oh, I didn't understand it was like this. And sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board and start over because one person didn't understand it, who's a decision maker.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my
like
God, I
Shark
just spent
Tank.
3 months doing this, and you're telling me you didn't get it the first time, so we have to start over.
That
happened.
sucks. That sucks.
And it was like, oh gosh, all right.
And then you're like designing the product with that person in mind, and they might not be your like target thing, and then it becomes this whole thing. Like
Totally.
Yeah.
That's why design thinking is super important. You really, really have to think about it before you just jump in.
I like that because like I think a lot of people they have an idea in their head about how something should be, and then they create something based on those expectations without thinking about how a new person is going to interact with it.
Yeah.
Like I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make in a lot of things. Like I make a lot of videos, and I always try to start with like, where is the video going to live? What is the purpose of the video, and what type of emotion am I trying to get the person watching to have?
Yeah.
Because if you just go out and you're like, I'm gonna make a cool video, and it's like, if you're trying to convert them, but you're just making a hype video, like you're not gonna convert them to like actually sell something. But if you're trying to like make something seem really hype, but you're just like telling them a lot of information and boring them, you're not gonna get them hyped. So like you have to think about like the purpose and the reason and all that type of stuff.
And go into it knowing that's your intention. Like if it's to create engagement, if it's to create money, or if it's just for fun, then you know which approach to take, because this is just for fun. Like, fuck it, just go do it.
Yeah, like the video that I put out recently for like my trip, that was supposed to be purely like fun, showcasing like, oh, we're cool, fun entrepreneurs that like to go places and do things together. Like that was the whole point. In the beginning of the video, I wanted to be like super hype and attention grabbing, and like I definitely did that. But like if I wanted to like explain what we were doing there and like the work that we were doing, like that video was not for that, you know?
Totally.
Anyways.
And I like that you really take into account their emotions, because when you're putting out a video that you want engagement, it's like, what is the other person gonna feel from this? Because it's so crucial.
Like, okay, so my friend Richard, that you met earlier, I made the channel trailer for his YouTube channel. I'll have to show it to you earlier. He's like, dude, my girlfriend was like kind of fucked up after that. Like she was like really emotional about it, and like the next couple of days was like telling me like, yo, that like video really gave me like a good perspective. And I was like, yeah,
that's awesome.
And then he's like, my mom's gonna cry when she watches it. I'm like, yeah,
yes.
I'm like, yes, I'm pulling the heartstrings.
You ever hear that quote? It doesn't matter what you say, it's how you make people feel. It's like so crucial.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
people remember the emotion of something, not necessarily like what happened. It's
Yeah.
more like, how did I feel in that moment?
Yeah, because like you can really get attached like in your memory of how a feeling was, but like it's very hard to remember like exactly what happened. Like you can remember the feeling and state of mind you were in after a car crash, but like when you're like trying to recount the details, like you're gonna mess tons of things up. Like, oh, it was a red car and it was really a blue car, and you're like, oh, I could have sworn it was a red car, but you know exactly how you felt in that moment.
Exactly. That's why police reports are always wrong. It's like no one actually knows what happened, but they know how they feel.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like people feel that they're in the right or they feel that they're in the wrong or whatever, and like the detail. Yeah. Anyways.
Totally. It's like your perception.
Yeah. Okay. So design thinking though.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we went down a little rabbit hole.
Yeah, so design thinking. So I was doing that into product management, and about halfway through, I realized that I never got to see the end result because my job ended once I gave it to the salespeople and I said, okay, it's done, go out and sell it. And it did because the thing I liked about Vector was I got to see impact. Like at the end of the summer, my sales reps came up to me and they were like, you gave me confidence. Some of them even said you changed my life. Sometimes that was extreme, but I feel like I did. Because it's like you give people confidence in selling, which is hard.
Yeah.
Like people don't think that they can sell until they do it. And it's like, it's a cool feeling. And I didn't get that at IBM.
Well, I think also people have a negative connotation with the word selling too. Like they're like, I'm trying to sell you this thing that you don't actually even really want.
Yeah.
But really a good salesman and a good product paired together, you're just like showing them that this is the product that they need.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Just like I think a lot of cars salesmen are shown to be like sleazy, like, you know, I'm gonna upsell them and all this stuff. But it's like at the end of the day, these people need a car. And like hopefully if you take them through the process right, you're gonna get them the car that they actually need and want.
And if you have their best interest in mind, you're working with them to get them to their end goal quicker and better.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're there for a car, for sure.
Yeah.
It's super, But
if they come in for a car and you start trying to sell them on something else, then you're
not doing your job. Yeah. Exactly. Then you're not a good salesperson.
Yeah. You're an annoying person.
Totally. Exactly.
Okay, so like you said, you didn't like the fact that at IBM you were like working on a project and then you kind of just like handed it off to someone else and then never got to like even really see the fruits of your labor or like the impact or anyone who is actually using it.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be super frustrating.
So about halfway through, I met this guy who was doing this charity event.
I'm just kidding.
Actually, we met for coffee. So this one wasn't a letter, it was a recommendation. So it was like, you should meet this person. And I was like, all right. So I waited a couple weeks and I'm like, all right, fine, I'll reach out to this person. So I sat down, we had coffee, and he was like, I started a nonprofit and I'm looking for someone to help me out with it. And I said, yeah, I'll help out. Like, I'm trying to get into the startup world. All my friends are in corporate life. I want to go more in this direction. Let's do it. So we start working together, and this was another test for me. It was like, all right, I want to be in entrepreneurship. Like, if I can do this, then I can prove to myself that I can be an entrepreneur, right? So I did another test. And
did you do that as a kid? Like when you were a kid, did you have like little things like that? Like I feel like that's like a big thing, you know? Like for example, you would have like, well, if I don't do this, then I'm never gonna be like, you know, for example, for me in tennis or something, like if I don't make this serve, then I'm never gonna be a good tennis player or something like that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It was in gymnastics, yeah. It was more based on fear. It was like because gymnastics there's a lot of fear. So it's like, okay, if I can do this on the floor, that means I can do it on the beam. And it was like little mental games to like get over fear. And yeah, I think it carried into that. It was always things that were related to each other. I tried not to do it that things were like, if I can do this, I'm gonna be president. It wasn't like that.
That's like a little bit delusional.
I was like trying to actually, like I tried to really relate it. Like for Vector, it was like, okay, if I can make this money, then I know I can pay for college.
Yeah.
If I can do this startup, I can do my own. So I was like kind of like that. And so yeah, he was throwing these. So Brawl for a Cause. That was the name of it for some of you guys.
So this is like pretty recent, right? Like a couple years ago.
Yeah, I would say it was about a year ago exactly.
Wow. So very recent.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts.
So what month is it? October. Yeah. So this was in July that we met, and we started working on it in August. And The event was in February.
You want to like tell people what Brawl for a Cause is, and also me, because I didn't attend the event or anything, but I get the general idea.
Yeah. So basically, we get business people, either just white collar business people like investment bankers or CEOs. We had a couple CEOs this year to fight for a cause they believe in a boxing ring. So literally, people pick a cause. Everyone has their own cause, and they fight for that cause, and they raise money for it. So
like Jake Paul. No, I'm just kidding.
So, yeah. So basically...
That was not for a cause. That was for money.
Yeah. So basically...
But it's people who are not boxers.
Yeah,
typically.
They're amateur. They've never
totally
done it
amateur.
before.
Okay.
So we train them for 8 to 12 weeks, something like that. And I think it's different every time. But they were taking place in... Listen to this. This is kind of crazy. So they were taking place in hotel ballrooms. And then... When I came in,
So they were doing this around the country, or what was the deal?
No, it was just, he was doing this just like,
just
it started out of a fraternity, like it was started out of like fraternity fight night. And then when he graduated, he was doing it in a hotel ballroom. And when I joined
That would be weird. You accidentally walk into the wrong room and there's just like a bunch of like business people fighting.
And you're like, I don't know this is.
You're like, I'm just here for the brunch.
I heard there's free booze.
Yeah.
Why is everyone in a tuxedo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting. So, and this year, we had the opportunity to host it in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which I had done the fan experience for. So I already knew the stadium. I knew people in the stadium.
I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I knew that it happened there.
Full circle, it tied back in. I was like, this is cool. And so we decided to have it at the stadium. Take this big risk because it was an investment doing it.
Was it through you that you were able to get that, or
no,
was something else?
No, he actually had another contact, which was really cool. He had met somebody like simultaneously, and we just decided, let's take it to the stadium. This is going to be a totally new ball game or fight game, whatever, like a totally new way of doing it. Like it's going to be a new level. So I think before he was raising $20,000, and this year we raised $200,000.
So you're saying like they're fighting for a cause, so they raise a bunch of money from supporters, right? And then they like duke it out. What happens like when you win? So does all the money that the other person raised go to your thing?
So it's split 40-60. So whoever wins gets 60% of the pot. So we had a guy raise.
Pot. I'm just kidding. So they get 60% of the total that was raised.
Getting a little off topic here. Let's talk about this a little bit.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so it's split 60-40, and if you win, let's say you win, you get 60% of the total money in the fight. So
cool.
We combine our money.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's pretty sweet.
Like, it's not just like, because I feel like a lot of those fundraising things are always like, raise money so I can do this hard race, or like, like the Savage race or whatever. Like I did one where it's like we were all supposed to raise $1,000, and then it was but like nothing happened if I like did good or not in it. Or like the Booster-thon fun run when you're like in like school. I don't know if you ever did that, but it's like you raise a bunch of money, and then for however many laps you do, you like raise like another dime or something like that from each person. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, but that's actually cool. So they're like, there's a reason that they would want to win.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's a lot of incentive.
Lose in front of everybody.
And also they're really tied into their charity. So their charity is also helping them raise money, and when they win, all the money goes to their charity. So it's really cool. They get to, like, there was a guy who raised money for like a charity in Uganda, and then he went to Uganda and got to see like the fruits of his labor, and he got to like see that. So it was really cool to like be so involved into that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's a pretty cool idea. I loved doing it, and then again, like my job was like operations, so it was like helping like put the event together and like help run the event. Like literally on that day, Matt was on stage like hosting the event, and I was like, all right, is everyone in place? We have volunteers here. We have the fighters backstage. Are they ready? And it was like so many different things.
Just like logistics.
It was so many logistics, and it was fun, and I loved it. And I was like, if I can do this, I can do it myself. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got to Tribe 29, which is what I'm doing now.
Okay, cool.
That's a really long story to get to here.
Hey, it's your life story. It makes sense.
It's my life story. And when I met you in the airport, that was the day I decided. It was even crazier that I met you in the airport. So I had gone to a conference.
So after this is after Brawl for a Cause, like that
After
major
Brawl for a
thing.
Cause.
Is it still happening right now? Like, or is it like a yearly
Yeah, it's
thing?
a yearly
or what's...
event. It's a yearly event.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it like happened last November or something like that?
February, yeah.
Oh, okay, February. So it's coming
Yeah.
up again, probably.
Yeah, so I'll still be involved in that. I love doing that. It's so fun. But yeah, it's like once a year. Maybe it'll end up being more in the future. I'm not sure what the plan is yet.
Yeah.
But
so anyways, that was like earlier this year, February. And then
Yes.
like that after that, how did you like move to doing other things?
Yeah, so I left IBM, and for a little while I was like, all right, so I left IBM to build an incubator with this guy. I was like, all right, I want to build a startup incubator. I was actually trying to convince IBM to build an incubator. I went all the way up to like head of marketing. I was like, I talked to someone in Israel because they had one in Israel. I was like, guys, we need this at IBM. Like this is the future. And they were like, no, we're not going to do it.
And so for people that don't know what that is, like a startup incubator is basically where you like take in a startup and like give them all the resources and training that they need. And then like at the end of it, like you get equity in the company?
Correct. So you get part ownership in the company. Let's say you trade 10% equity. That means you own 10% of the company in exchange for all of that you help develop, all
resources,
the contacts you give them.
all that. Yeah,
exactly.
Makes sense.
So
it makes sense for both parties.
Yeah. So I met this guy and he's like, I'm building one. Like, join this. And I was like, okay.
What made you want to be a part of an incubator rather than just like doing your own startup thing? Like you didn't really know what you would want to do if you were starting your own thing, or you were kind of like, I like helping these other startups, like these people with a vision. I like helping them along that.
So being a product manager for IBM, I was doing it already, but I wanted to do it for, like, I wanted to be more involved in the people aspect.
Yeah,
so,
like you weren't having to move the cruise ship as much. You're gonna be able to like steer some kayaks.
Exactly. I wanted to get more in the kayak world. So IBM, I tried to pitch IBM on it. I made a whole pitch deck. I was like, guys, we need this. They weren't having it. They were like, we're not investing in startups right now. It's too risky. And I'm like, all right, fine. I'm going to do it myself.
I'm going to leave then. Bye, Mom. Slam the door.
Yeah. So I met this guy and he's like, I'm building one. I'm like, cool. I'm in. So I move over there. We start building this. And in July, I was a part of this mastermind group. And I was like, I want to meet you guys in person. So we all decided to meet in Estonia. And this was it happened to be, my family's from Estonia. I had never met my family before, my extended family. So I was like, cool, I'll go to Estonia.
Both parents or like?
Just my dad's side.
Your dad's side's from Estonia. Was your dad born there?
Zirna comes from Estonia. My grandparents are, so my dad's not. So he's first generation, I'm second. So cool. Yeah, they left during World War II. They got kicked out of Estonia, fled on different like ships. It was so cool. My grandparents like fled to America and then re-met in America and got married when they got here. And it was totally random. And
Did they know they wanted to get married before that?
No, like they were dating in high school.
Whoa.
And then they both had to flee in different directions, and then like found it. My grandpa was like, I'm gonna find her, and he went out and he met her and proposed, and
dang,
that was how they got married. So yeah, I wanted to meet the family, meet where they grew up, see that. So I did, and I went there, and it happened to be at the time they were throwing this conference on coaching, and I had no idea. So I went to this conference, and it was like 800 coaches, and I was like...
This is an online mastermind, right? You said? So it's like...
Yeah, my mastermind only has 30 people in it, but they were all going to this, like a good chunk of them were going to this, and I was like, all right, I'll go. I want to meet my family. Good chunk. Yeah.
A good chunk of them. I thought you said a good chuck of them. I'm like, is that a phrase that I don't know? A good chuck of them.
It's Estonia.
Okay, a good chunk of them. I gotcha.
We only say it in Estonia.
No, I was thinking it was like a New York thing or something, like a good chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good chuck of us are going.
It's a New York term.
A good chuck of us are going up there. New York. That's funny. Okay, a good chunk of them were going to Estonia. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm familiar with that phrase. Chunk.
A few of them. I could just say that. A few people.
Handful?
A handful.
A bushel?
It was a handful. More like a handful than a bushel.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, a dozen. All right, we'll go with a handful.
So Estonia, and you like actually met up with your family?
Yeah, I met 15 of my family members that I'd never met, and it was so cool. Like one of them, like people were on the roof. A couple of the kids were like driving an ATV. This like 50-year-old uncle was my 50-year-old uncle, I guess, was doing like front handsprings, and I'm like, this is my family. Everyone's doing flips in the yard. Like, they're crazy. I'm related to these people. And it was like the coolest. Handsprings? Yeah, I'm like,
that's amazing.
I'm like, who are you people? I was like, this is my family. It was really cool seeing my roots, though. We like got out all these pictures, and it was like an emotional experience.
I'm sure.
It was really awesome. So I went there.
I feel like you like touched hands with them or something, like, ooh, like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
You guys are real.
Right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I have to do something with my camera, but keep talking.
Okay, so I met them. It was pretty awesome, pretty fun. And just like a really like culturally enriching experience. They cooked me all this food that I had never even heard of, like this like random soup thing. I don't even know what was in it, but it was awesome. And so, yeah, I was at this conference and there were like 800 coaches. And mind you, when I was at Vector, all I was doing was coaching, right? Coaching these sales reps. So I was like, all right, this is awesome. So about a week in, I called my boss and I'm like, you know, I really want to stay a week longer. And he was like, all right, Chelsae, but you have all these sales commitments. We're putting on a conference in a couple months. As long as you're like selling and you're doing all this stuff, it's fine. I'm like, okay. So I stayed a week longer and I like was like really, really learning a ton about coaching and like meeting tons of people who had all these businesses and they were doing really well. And I'm like, wow, like it's possible to actually be a coach for a career. Like I just had never seen that because that wasn't my world. Like my world was corporate. So on my way back, the World Cup had just ended. I was flying on a buddy pass, which means I get a standby seat. So the day that I left, the World Cup ended and the airport was flooded.
Standby means you only get a spot on the plane if there's an open spot on the plane.
Yeah.
So if the flights are booked, you're fucked.
Exactly.
And you were flying a buddy pass because it's like cheap.
Yeah.
Because you can fly like internationally for like $300.
Yeah.
But in peak season
you
after
take
World
a risk,
Cup, you
right?
take a big risk.
I say that I'm risk averse, yet I take all these crazy risks.
You're like, I'm so risk averse, yeah.
And I'm taking this risk again.
Maybe you're just really highly aware that you're taking risks a lot.
And I do them anyways.
But you do them anyways. You're not really risk averse. You're like, you're like.
I know this is risky, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
Right? You're like risk aware.
I'm risk aware. I wish that was a word. Let's create that word.
We just created it.
I bet
I'm
that
very
is a
risk
word.
aware.
Maybe it's just called having awareness.
You're very intuitive about
conscious.
your risks.
I'm conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so a day goes by, and I'm like, all right, well, I didn't get on the flight today. I'm going to go into Amsterdam, and I'm going to work remotely. Like, I'm working remotely.
It was like Estonia, Amsterdam, home.
Yeah, Amsterdam had the most flights per day. So if you're ever traveling, Amsterdam has 3 flights per day to Atlanta, and then I think 8 flights to the United States. So you have your best chances of leaving, but also most people know that, so it's kind of the most full.
Through Delta, you're talking about.
Through Delta.
Yeah, with other airlines, like
it could be different.
London or something might be more, but.
Yeah, Delta's headquartered here, so yeah. So I wrote a whole blog on this, so if you really want to know how to fly on a buddy pass, read the blog, chelsaezirna.com. I went really in-depth.
Hey, no plugs are allowed on this product? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, no plugs. I sent it to you, though. You were the one who inspired that blog post. You were like, I need to learn how to do this.
No, because I had the same thing.
Yeah, and it's really hard in Amsterdam. There is a trick, and I got to every trick, right? Because not to ruin the story, but it was 6 days until I could leave. So I got every trick in the book, and I was like doing everything I could to get home. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I had already called my manager saying, I'm gonna be home in a week, and then it was 6 days later till I actually got home. And he was like, I'm
gonna be home in a week, and then literally it was like a week later than that.
Yeah. So it was like, all right, this is crazy. But
what did your boss say? Because you were on like some calls and stuff like that.
And I was working remotely. I was working, but during those 6 days, I was like, I just met about 300 digital nomads that are coaching and really, really successful. And I always had it in my mind that I was going to start a coaching business when I was like in my 30s. And I was like, why would I wait? Because this is actually what I want to do. And I love doing the incubator, right? Like I loved working with startups, but like I knew I wanted to be a coach. So I had 6 days to sit in Amsterdam and just think about it. And when I ran into you, it was like my last day, right? I ran into him at the airport.
No, so I'll tell this part.
Yeah,
So
you
you
tell
were
it.
on Facebook and you were like, you know, probably just stressed and freaking out, and you're like, well, day 5, you know, day 4, stranded in
Desperate.
Amsterdam.
Like, what do I
Stranded
do?
in Amsterdam. And if you want to know about my side of the trip, you can go listen to episode 100 with my brother, and we
Your
talked
birthday.
all about our trip. Yes. Episode 100. And you can go listen to that. But basically, we were in Amsterdam. I was like, oh, Chelsea's like stranded in Amsterdam. And I was like, I'm about to be in Amsterdam. Like, if you're still stranded, like, let's link up. And I think it was like the day before that or the next day that happened. And you're like, well, I'm trying to get home, but if I'm still stuck again, like, yeah, let's hang out.
Having no realization that I would actually still be stuck. I totally thought I was going to get home. Like, every day I had so much hope. And
Yeah.
I was still stuck.
Yeah, because, like, when you're on a buddy pass, so, like, this happened kind of to me on my way home. Like, we went to the airport the first day and didn't get on our first flight. We didn't get on the second flight. And then, did I tell you what happened with this, or did you know what happened with this?
I don't know.
So it was me and my brother, and there was one spot left on the plane.
Oh.
And so my brother went and I stayed.
No way.
And so I, like, was just so defeated.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, we were just, like, so psyched to go home. We had all our stuff packed. You know, like, we just stayed in our Airbnb. We were in Rome. Like, we're like, okay, we're done with our trip. We've been gone for 6 weeks. Let's go home. See ya, Europe. And then it was just like, no. Like, that's literally, like, my emotions. It was just like, the end of that day, I'm like, I've got to go figure out where I'm going to stay for tonight. I've got to go figure out how to get back to the city. I've got to figure out how I even do this whole buddy pass thing tomorrow and what flights are available and, like, this whole thing. And it was just like...
And you can't even enjoy the city because there's so much logistics to figure out.
Exactly. Like, I finally, like, literally we woke up for the airport at, like, you know, 7 or 8. And I didn't even ever, like, get back to my hostel that I ended up staying at until, like, you know, 5 p.m. And then by that time, it's like, you know, I've got to go find somewhere to eat dinner. And then, like, I can't really do anything else.
Yeah.
And I'd already been to Rome. Like, I'd already been there before. And, like,
Yeah.
me and my brother were just there for, like, a day or two.
Yeah.
So anyways, not to be a Debbie Downer, you can go listen to that podcast. And I talk all about it with my brother. Yeah, so you were, like, stranded and then
I ran into you at the airport. Or we kind of coordinated it.
We coordinated it. Like, I was like, yo, are you still here? Like, let's meet up. Because me and my brother flew in, and then who was with us? Oh, that guy,
We met
Louis.
those people at the airport.
Yeah, so
there's a guy sitting next to me on the airplane, Sean, if you're listening, from Hawaii.
What's up, Sean?
And then your friend.
Our friend Louis that we ended up sitting next to on the airplane.
Yeah.
And
they
so
just came along for the ride.
Literally, they came along for the
we had
ride.
this
Like,
huge group of people.
yeah, we ended up. I'm really glad we took a selfie because that was really funny.
I still keep in touch with him.
That's awesome.
It's so funny.
That's so awesome. Like, literally, the people you meet in airports are typically pretty cool.
The people you sit next to. I just sat next to another girl on an airplane, and we still talk.
My friend Kate, I just went to Columbus, Ohio, and sat next to her, and now we're like homies. So
it's crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But you gotta, like, be open-minded for those opportunities. Like, that's why I really like music festivals and concerts and stuff, because, like, sometimes you go to one and, like, not meet anyone cool, and, like, not that you don't meet anyone cool, but, like, you don't keep in touch with any of them. And then sometimes you meet, like, the coolest people that end up being, like, your best friends.
You know what would be cool? If and maybe they do this and they just don't tell anyone, but if airplanes, like, optimized who sits next to who in the random seating.
I'm sure they
Because on my plane ride back, there was 2 people that sat down next to me in the flight over, and by the end of it was an 8-hour plane ride, but by the end of the ride, they were making out, and they were, like, really, like, they had, like, formed, it was, like, this guy and this girl.
Making out?
Yeah. And
They never met before?
They never met, when they sat down, I could see that they were interested in each other, and by the end of the ride, they were making out, and, like, the girl I sat next to, we became really good friends. Like, she might come to one of my events.
So you're sure that they didn't ever meet?
100%. I knew it. Because, and it was really...
That's amazing.
Wouldn't it be cool, though, if, like, Delta, like, was, like, secretly, like, putting people next to each other that they thought would get along?
If it somehow increased their bottom line, like, maybe, but I doubt it.
But sometimes I feel like that happens. Delta, if you're
I don't
listening,
know.
cool idea.
Hey, cool idea. Get really involved in people's personal lives and like maybe get found out for like stalking people.
And their gender and like
that would be dope. That would be actually really dope.
It-
I think Southwest does it the best, where you just get to choose who you sit next to. Because like if I get to choose, like I'm not gonna sit down next to somebody who I don't think I'm gonna click with. Like I'm gonna sit next to, and that's what happened with my friend Kate. Like we met in the terminal in the gate, and then like we ended up like sitting next to each other because we were on Southwest and you can pick your seat. So she had like a higher boarding priority. I'm like, yo, save us a spot, and so she did.
Cool.
You know
That's
what I mean?
nice.
And then we were able to like hang out on the plane the whole
I
time.
kind of like the serendipity of not knowing.
Yeah. No,
Of,
and
like-
it was dope because she lives in Florida. We were going to a music festival in Ohio, and she had a layover in Atlanta. And so she saw me and my brother, and we were like, yo, are you going to Lost Lands? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to Lost Lands. So then we knew that we were both going to the same music festival. We were on the plane together. And then we ended up meeting up at the music festival too. So
Speaking of
it ended up
that,
being
I
sweet.
literally almost went to Tomorrowland because that's where you were going, remember?
Yeah, that's where I was in Amsterdam.
went. I was going to buy like a one-day
should have.
ticket. I know. And I ended up, so this, I don't want to spoil the story, but I ended up throughout the 6 days really thinking about what I wanted. Ended up like leaving
your
the job. And then I could have gone to the music festival anyways.
Oh,
but
wow.
you know, everything happens.
But you would
for a
have to
reason,
like
right?
the whole thing with the buddy pass and like, you know, it just
I
like
was so
you
tired
were on
of
a
being
mission.
there
Yeah.
that I was like, I don't care if I have a ticket to Tomorrowland. I want to go home.
Exactly.
I was like,
Exactly.
oh,
Like I
gosh.
can't blame you for that.
At this
and it would have
point-
been a whole thing of logistics. Like it would have been like
A lot. And then I
for
could have
sure.
been stranded again, and I'm like, I'm not playing this game. The only reason I got home was because, so the World Cup ended, all the people were just like flooding the airport. They chartered a jet that had 75 extra seats, and there was 75 of us waiting, so all 75 of us got on.
So they literally were like, okay, we know that there's an excess of all these people with
It
buddy
was
passes.
so random. No, they were testing out a new jet, and it was it was a 75 seat jet that was
They're like,
bigger.
guys, this is a new jet. There's like a 90% chance we're gonna crash, but if you guys want a seat, your butt's in a seat.
No, they like made this
just
new
kidding.
jet that was big, and they had never really flown it. So they were like, all right, we have 75 extra seats, and there was 75 of us that were waiting. And I was number 75. No, I'm just kidding.
You were?
I was one of the last people, though.
Dang.
Yeah, because my priority was pretty low. They do it by priority. And because the girl that I bought the buddy pass with started 3 years ago, my priority was like pretty low.
Yeah,
That's
that
why it was
is
so
pretty
hard for
low.
me to freaking go home.
Oh my
But yeah,
gosh, yeah. Because I think
so
my
lucky.
person that I went through has been unemployed for like 25 years or something like that.
Oh yeah, so you're pretty
So my
good.
priority was still like pretty high, but like there
Yeah.
was always people in front of me on
So
standby.
priority 4, but still highest on the
Yeah,
buddy
yeah,
pass
yeah.
list, which you have a good chance at.
Yeah,
So
I still
yeah.
miss my flight.
So if anyone has no idea what we're talking about, read the blog post, watch his podcast episode 100,
Yeah.
you'll get an idea.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, so Amsterdam, we met up and we ended up, we had a hotel room, me and my brother, because we had just stayed in the worst hostel of our lives. I just like spit everywhere. Worst hostel of our lives. And so we were like, yeah, like in the splash zone. No, at least I didn't spit
Bracing
on
myself.
you.
I'm just kidding.
We had the worst hostel experience of our lives. And so we were like, we're done with hostels. And so we decided to stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, you're more than welcome to like crash in our hotel if you want.
Yeah.
And you did.
And
So-
I did, because I had been sleeping in a hostel, and I'm like, thank God. I just want to hang out with people that I know, kind of. And
Yeah.
just like, at least
I mean,
like,
no more than
I was so, you made my whole experience so much
and
better.
it was like an actual like you could shower and like actually
Oh
have
my God,
like
I was
Wi-Fi
able to
and
shower.
stuff.
It was so nice. So I was kind of roughing it on the 6-day experience. Like, it wasn't glamorous.
Airport
So-
nomad life is not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A trick though, if you are ever hanging out by the Delta Sky Lounge, anybody that has a pass can get a guest in. So if you hang
Really?
out there, you can be like, hey, can I be your guest? Or if you just know somebody in the airport. So it's a good way to shower if you're stranded.
That's pretty cool.
Because they have showers in there.
Yeah.
So
And also sometimes
Nice.
I've heard this that you can like go up to the desk and just ask how much it costs to just access the lounge for the day
yeah,
and you can take
sometimes
a
it's
shower
like
that
30
day.
bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean if you really are in desperate need of a shower, like you can at least do that. But
Which is nice. If you have a meeting or something and you need a shower, it's actually
Yeah.
pretty convenient.
yeah, yeah.
Delta hooks people up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anyways.
Casey Neistat always does that. He swears by that. Like he'll go to the airport, take a shower, and then get on his plane.
I could totally see you liking his content.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
pretty
I
cool.
love Casey. Casey's the man.
Yeah. He's got pretty good videos.
Yeah,
Videographer.
yeah,
Nice.
for sure. He's got enough subs.
Yeah.
He's got like what, 10 million subs, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people that want to watch your stuff.
Cool.
He just put out a really good documentary.
Subscribers. All right, I get it. I'm like not into the lingo, but I get it.
Oh yeah, subscribers. Oh yeah, I'm a YouTube. Like I love YouTube. I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch anything. Like I watch YouTube. Yeah.
I'm gonna sound cool next time and say, how many subs you have?
Oh yeah, what's your sub count?
Is that how you say it? What's your sub count?
Yeah, like how many subs you got? Like what's your sub count?
Cool.
Like yeah, I'm at like 10K. Trying to get to like 15K by the end of the year. Like I don't know. Yeah, YouTube is a strange community. But I love YouTube. I think it has a time and place, but yeah, YouTube's cool. Anyways, let's get back to your like actual story. So you got home from Amsterdam, you ended up quitting your job, and like what was the like reasoning and like what's the path now? What's the trajectory?
I had just spent 2 weeks at this conference that happened to be about coaching, right? Like I didn't actually know. I was just there visiting my family, and I knew that it was about like consciousness, and I just didn't realize that the whole conference was about coaching, right? Like or the attendees were all coaches. The conference was about like, it's called Mind Valley, so it was like maximizing your life and like longevity and all this stuff and about consciousness. But
your necklace is like on your microphone, so it might be like rubbing it. Let me see.
Thanks. I can
no
put it
problem.
down here.
There we go.
So yeah, it was all about like consciousness and all that. So, anyways, I get home and. Well, during this whole 6-day experience, I'm like, all right, this is happening for a reason. You know, me being me, I'm like, everything happens for a reason. I'm like, all right, so what could this mean? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I get home, and I'm like, I think I'm ready to do this. Like, I've proven to myself enough. I've done enough, like, Chelsae tests, right? I'm like, I know I can do this. I know how to do it now. Because before I didn't understand how to do it, and I was just showered with proof. I just saw, like, 300 people successfully doing this. And then I had the community. There was a Facebook group. So if I wanted to launch something, I could just say, hey, maybe I need help, or hey, I'm launching this. Like, you know, give me some feedback, or like, just like it. So I did. So I came home, and me and my manager had a conversation. It was a two-way street, you know. It was like, you've been gone for a long time. And I'm like, I know.
I've been gone for a long time.
I was like, I have been gone for a long time. I've done a lot of thinking. I'm sure you've done a lot of thinking. And I was like,
it was like a breakup.
It was a breakup. We literally broke up right then and there. And I was like, all right, I was
like peace, going back to Europe, bitches.
Seriously. So on my airport ride home, my landlord calls me. My landlord's like, your roommate bought a cat and we have a no cat policy. You have a week to find 2 new roommates or you have to move out. And I was like...
Did you know your roommate, or was it like a random roommate?
No,
or
I did. I knew her. But like the cat got ran over by a car while I was in Amsterdam, and then she's like, she got really emotional and she bought a new one. It was a next door neighbor's cat, right? So it wasn't her cat, but the cat came over to play, and she's like, I want to buy a cat now.
Oh.
And it was
Are you allergic? Didn't you say?
Yeah, I'm also allergic to cats. Thank you.
That would have sucked for you.
So I'm also allergic to cats. That was actually part of the conversation, and so it was like, the landlord was like, we can't have a cat, and she's like, well, I'm ready for a cat. I think I'm gonna move out. So she was like,
it sounds like such a thing. Like, I think I'm ready for a cat.
She was
like I'm ready to get married. Like I'm
that's
so
the other
ready.
Thing. She was
I'm at
dating,
a time in my life where I really need a cat.
She was dating. She wanted a pet. She wanted to move in with a boyfriend. So it was kind of like a lot at once. So they did move in together, and so I had a week to find 2 new roommates, and then at the end of the week I was like, I didn't find 2 roommates, and I was like, all right.
I needed to sell $10,000 of the Cutco and find 2 roommates. I sold the Cutco, but I did not find the roommates. So I said, Chelsae, you know what? You did it.
I found the test. So, all right.
Were you really that into the test though? Like, were you thinking like I really need to find 2 roommates?
This was more like, this is my opportunity to be a digital nomad.
Were you really trying to find 2 roommates that badly, or were you kind of like the end of the week?
Half in and half
didn't
out.
find the roommates.
That's the thing. I wasn't committed. I was half in, half out.
Guess I gotta go be a digital nomad now.
Yeah.
Guess the universe is telling me.
Exactly. The universe was telling me. What are the chances my landlord called and the thing with my manager? And I was like,
that is pretty nuts.
Right? All of that stuff happened. Like, what are the chances of me being stranded for 6 days? Like, who does that? So I was like, all right, universe, I get it. I surrender. You've been giving me signs for like a year now. So I was like, all right.
That's amazing.
I know. I was like, all right, I get the hint, universe. So, anyways, break up with my job. I break up with my roommates, and I'm like, all right, well, we're still friends. We went to Burning Man together. But like...
You broke up with your roommates. You broke up with your boss.
Yeah.
I like it.
So all those people I was living in Mind Valley with, living in Estonia with, were like, we're all going to live together in Barcelona next month. And I was like, all right, I'm in. I put all my stuff in storage that week.
This is what, like a month ago? Like 3 weeks ago?
This was a month and a half ago. I put all my stuff in storage, and I go to Burning Man, and then I go to Barcelona for a month, and now I'm going to Southeast Asia. I'm a digital nomad. I'm officially a digital nomad.
Hell yeah.
High five. So awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I did. So I started Tribe 29 that day. I stayed awake for 48 hours. I'm like, here's what I want my coaching. And I didn't want to be just a coach, right? Like, I wanted to be a coach, but I wanted to create a community.
What's 29?
Well, when you're 29 years old, you start to think about all the things you want to do before 30. And usually people make like a 30 before 30 list. And I was like, what if everybody lived like they're 29? I want to start a community where everyone's living their life like they're 29. So I started Tribe 29.
Making bad decisions, maybe having kids. No, I'm just kidding.
Doing all the things that you ever wanted to do in 1 year. So
I like that. It's like a bucket list kind of thing.
It is. It's like, yeah, live like you're 29 all the time. So I started Tribe 29, and I started this community, and I wanted it to be entrepreneurial women that were also conscious. So this whole conscious movement, like spirituality and like living life with intuition.
You could say.
All my woke fans out there. I really like that term.
I like it too.
Awakened people.
There we go.
That's more of the conscious term. Yeah, so it's just like this community.
I'm gonna keep saying woke.
Get woke. That should be the tagline. Get woke.
Tribe 29.
Get woke.
And you gotta do your head like that. Get woke.
I don't even know if my head does that.
Yeah, I do a lot of head banging. I can do it.
All those festivals.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's what I did. I started Tribe 29, and I went to Burning Man. That was my first digital nomad experience. It was actually really awesome.
So what do you mean by, obviously we know what a digital nomad is now, but like what do you mean by a digital nomad experience? Like something that you wouldn't have been able to do in a corporate job that you were able to do now that you have this like time freedom?
Yeah, basically I just like put all my stuff in storage and just like left. So that was my first stop.
Is that like super freeing now that all your stuff's in storage? Like you don't even like have stuff? Like
Honestly,
it's like you still have it, but it's like away?
So I really liked the idea of, in college, I put everything in my car and I was able to move anytime I wanted, and I loved that freedom. And then I bought all this furniture when I graduated, and it really tied me to Atlanta. It was good and bad because I was able to create community here.
You have a car, you have furniture, you have a lease, all that stuff.
I just got a car too, that's the thing.
Oh God.
So I was like, yeah, so it was really freeing, and it is freeing. I can go anywhere at any time, and it's like, it's also good when you're an entrepreneur because you can literally, like I'm doing a retreat in Bali, and I would probably be going to Bali anyways, but like, it's just cool being able to do that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That was like a big thing for me. Like I lived in Chelsae with some friends, and that was the time that I decided I wanted to be an au pair and like go move to Italy for 3 months in the summer. And I'm like, my lease is ending with my friends, and I was like, there's no point in like re-signing if I'm gonna like just go live in like Italy for 3 months and like waste 3 months rent and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I ended up just like moving back home because I'm like, well, this just like makes sense. And then like when I moved back home to my parents' house, like I was like, well, I want to still like be able to have the freedom to do all this stuff. And like that was the reason why like I've stayed at home like so long too, is because it's like I don't want to buy all these things that are going to like tie me down. And it's not even necessarily, I think a lot of people like moving out is like a coming of age type of thing too, where it's like, you know, you move out because you're going to be independent and all this stuff, but it's like at my house, like I'm lucky if I see my parents, like they're both work full time. My brother works full time. I work full time. Like, you know, I'm barely ever at home. So it's like my family, when we live together, it's like we're a bunch of like weird roommates that just end up like living and working together. Yeah. And it's like, it's funny because I think a lot of people think of like, oh, living with your parents, like your mom's cooking all the meals for you and doing your laundry. It's like, nah, my mom doesn't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like that's like a big reason why like a lot of for me, like I hate the idea of like getting a bunch of like furniture and all this stuff like that, because again it's like ties you down, like because I think
Totally.
you know, like Uber and like Airbnb and all these things, like yes they are like going to be more expensive maybe in the long run than like just owning stuff, but the time freedom and like the like free like ease of mind that you get from all that, like you free yourself from so many headaches and so many like, oh, what happens when you've got to buy new stuff? What happens when your car breaks down? What happens when you got to pay for all the other expenses that were like you didn't even think about? And it's in this new world we can live like way differently than people could have lived.
And it's honestly changing the world. Like Airbnb, Uber, all these like mobility apps and all these like literally people are becoming so mobile.
Have you ever done BlaBlaCar?
Oh yeah, I've taken the BlaBlaCar. That thing saved my life one time. Yeah, super cool. And like honestly, culture is moving in this direction, and it's giving people a lot of freedom, but it's also changing values. Like I had this, the reason I'm so risk averse, it took me 9 months to get to the point where I was like, can I leave a job that is paying me pretty well, take a huge risk and not follow the American dream, right? Because that's a really big thing. You have to really think about, what do I value? Is it money? Is it creating things? Is it impacting people? And like, how can I prioritize those? Like, what's the most important to me? And I decided I didn't want to live the traditional American dream. Like, I have a lot of friends that are doing really, really well at IBM. I had a girl who just told me she made a lot of money and bought a house almost in cash, and it's a really nice house. And she's like doing well. And I gave that up on purpose. And I didn't want to just get the house, get married, follow these steps. Because like for me, I have a desire to create something. And I just think so many people in the world are doing that, right? Like they're just like, they're working to create, like to save this money, to buy a house. And like, I want to create things
and it's
in
like,
the world.
what's the end goal? Like,
Right?
all for what? Like a
why?
lot of people say like, so what are you going to do once you retire? Well, I'm going to travel the world. And it's like,
Exactly.
so that's the end goal, that you want to like travel more and like experience the world. What if you could do that now? Like,
right?
what's stopping you from doing that now?
Exactly.
Like, what's stopping you from literally buying a plane ticket right now and going to Europe?
And some people
Most
are
of
like,
it's
oh,
fear.
it's irresponsible. Yeah, there's fear. Culture's weighing you down. A lot of people say like, there's a lot of cultural pressures, right? Like humanity, from the time we're born, it's like your parents,
and
especially
stability.
a lot of your people on this podcast were immigrants, right? They came from immigrant families, and a lot of the times you're infused with that like scarcity mindset, or like the mindset of like you know, this is going to like a lot of coaching talk. I've really analyzed this, but it's like you start to think about what's important to you, what your values are, and for me, I wanted to create and I wanted to build something. And I think that if you start looking at life like opportunity and playground, like it's like literally a playground where you get to just create things and do things, you start freeing the expectations of other people and of yourself and of family. And you're like, let me just live freely. And it creates honestly, a lot of freedom, which is a feeling most people really desire. And they go about it a different way. Like a lot of people want financial freedom while still being caged in their daily freedom, and it's really difficult to align the two. Like you got to make choices sometimes. And for me, I cared more about like lifestyle freedom and then creating that financial freedom through my passion versus the other way around. Like creating financial freedom and then maybe having this lifestyle freedom. Because a lot of times when you create financial, I know I'm going on and on about this.
No, this makes sense.
A lot of times when you create financial freedom, you're afraid to lose it. Versus the other way around, if you create it through your lifestyle, then you can keep that financial freedom.
Kind of like how you were saying, like your test. Like if I know that I can sell, $7,500 in a week, then I know for a fact if I can. Like if I'm ever like dead broke, I'm whatever, at least I know that I have the capability to go back to Cutco and sell a bunch of knives or whatever.
Totally.
And like, that's freeing, especially as like an entrepreneur, like you get your first client or something, someone who's willing to pay you a bunch of money that you think is pretty astronomical, but to them it's like totally worth it. Yeah. And you're like, holy shit, like I can do this. Like, I don't need to be like employed by someone. Like, I can do the things that I know how to do, and people value me for that. Like, I feel like that's one of the biggest things lacking in our society, like why people are so depressed and like why people like don't have a sense of purpose, or they just feel lost or trapped or whatever. And like, it's because so much of what's expected from us is not aligned with like,
oh my God, you're hitting it. This is it.
Yeah.
This
with
is
like
what
our
I'm
purpose.
coaching on. Your heart and your mind being aligned. Because a lot of times your mind and your mind likes to compete with your heart, or you can think of it your gut. Sometimes you feel your intuition in your gut. Sometimes you feel it in your heart. But a lot of times they compete with each other. And really, what's really important is listening to your intuition and aligning that with your mind, not the other way around.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard because it takes you out of humanity and out of the traditional beliefs.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's harder, not easy. You know?
I think traveling was one of the biggest things and catalysts that like helped me realize that.
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time, like ad nauseum on my podcast, but like traveling, like go and do a trip by yourself, go and, you know, get stranded in Amsterdam, like literally seek out like getting lost.
Go on a retreat.
And, like, go on a retreat.
Go
or,
to
like,
another country.
Yeah, go to Bali. Maybe there's a retreat.
Ooh, maybe you're gonna. But really, if you get out of America.
What date is the retreat?
Really? It's.
Yeah, what is it? When is it?
November 15th.
I'm trying to think if the podcast will be out by then. I think it'll be out by then. So if you want to come, November 15th.
November
When do you have to
15th.
pre-register by? November 14th?
You can literally buy a flight. Yeah, I recommend buying it a little more in advance. But sometimes.
How much was your flight to Bali?
I used credit card points, but $500.
Whoa, that's a good deal
Round
right
trip.
there.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. Round trip 500.
Yes.
See, people are like, they'll look up on Kayak or like whatever. Kayak, another reference. They'll look it up and they're like, oh, a flight to Bali is like $1,400. I don't have that.
Right, and there's
it's
so
like,
many resources you can use.
haven't really looked.
And you can use credit card points. There's so many ways to travel cheap and for free. Like, if you want to figure out how to do it, there's so many resources out there. It
ain't glamorous, but you can definitely do it.
You can. Go to skyscanner.net. That's a really good one.
Skyscanner's real good.
Skyscanner's really good, and it's a great way. You go on a budget airline, but honestly, like,
did I tell you about Skyscanner in Amsterdam? I feel like I told somebody like recently about Skyscanner.
You might have.
I don't know if I told you.
You might have.
I told somebody about Skyscanner.
Actually, you might have. And
I feel like I told you, and you're like, I need to write that down as an
actually,
app.
you might have, and I ended up using it to get to Barcelona.
You're welcome. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
No, I think I was like, you were like, and there's Skyscanner. I'm like,
there.
I feel like we told Chelsea about Skyscanner.
I think you did.
Me or Matthew, I can't remember. Either way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's lots of ways. That's the thing is like traveling when you're old is like vacation. Traveling when you're young should be like an adventure. You know what I mean?
Totally. And it's also a way to really like, it's also a way to like discover too. Like get out of the, because a lot of times when you're young, you're just so influenced by the people around you. And I know that like for my first 18 years, right, I want to be a doctor just because my parents were, right? Like that's not a really good reason. So getting out of America, out of the beliefs, out of the value systems, and really getting into like, what is it that I want? Look at all these people that are poor and happy. Why are they so happy? Like really think about it. Does happiness really come from money? Like really think about that.
Well, it's also about I can't think of the exact word. I listened to this podcast with Joe Rogan and Dan Bilzerian. Dan Bilzerian is like, if you don't know, he's like the epitome of like a douche on Instagram. So like he's like a multi-millionaire. He's always hanging out with like half-naked girls on his yacht and in his hot tub and like all this stuff. And like I thought that listening to this podcast, I was gonna be listening to just like a dummy that was like, boobs, you know, like literally I thought that's like how the podcast is gonna be, like just this dumb, big like dude like roided up with like a bunch of money, you know what I mean? Like a gorilla basically, you know what I mean? Like a very simple-minded like alpha male dude. But like he was actually like very insightful because one of the things that he talked about was like this idea of perspective in wealth. Like he's got so much money that he's been able to experience the best of everything. And so like he lives in Las Vegas, so he's been able, and like he's a professional poker player. So when you gamble at such a high level, the casinos want you to gamble at their casino. So they'll offer you things like a free penthouse upgrade or like the best of whatever, and they'll give you all these free things, and they'll, we've got a partnership with this exotic car rental company and you get to drive around in this and blah, 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 blah. And so like once you get accustomed, like once you've experienced the penthouse and then someone's like, oh, well, we can offer you this free stay in our Holiday Inn, like to a normal person, you're like, whoa, sick, like a free stay in a Holiday Inn, like that's dope. Like, is there a pool? You know, like you're like all stoked. But to him, he's like, what do you mean there's not a butler that comes with my room? You know what I mean? Like he's used to like that opulence that like going down a level is just like so, it's like the end of the world. Like it's literally like when, you know, Wall Street crashed, like back in whenever the Great Depression and all that was, like millionaires were like committing suicide because they couldn't imagine like going down a peg. And like you actually mentioned it kind of earlier, like people are afraid of losing what they've already gotten. And like that's why people don't act, and that's why people don't like take action, because they just want to like sit. They're like, I could sit here and my life will be a 7, but if I went for my dreams, it could be a 10, but it could also go down to like a 5. So I'm just gonna chill at a 7.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally. And it's kind of like an iPhone. I was pretty against getting a phone. I was like, oh, my flip phone's fine. But when I got an iPhone, I was like, I can't live without this. And now I could never go back to a flip phone, right? But it's kind of like you get to a certain level and you're like, I can't live without this now. But the point of...
Well, it's also become a part of us. The phone is an interesting one because it gives us capabilities that we didn't have before.
So did the butler, though. So did the butler.
That's true. That's very true.
Like, that's how it works. Like, you start getting more and your level of what you expect increases. But the point, what you teach in coaching is, like, how can you get to a point in your life where you're happy with having nothing? Like, if you were to lose everything, like all the people in your life, so it's like living without attachment to things, and it's really important to like find fulfillment just being.
Yeah. Actually, Richard has it on the wall out there. It says H equals R minus E, and it means happiness equals reality minus expectations. Whoa. So like your reality, like your happiness is 100% dependent on your reality is... Like, take away the expectations from your reality, you can still be happy. Like, why are some of the poorest people in the world so happy? Because they don't know anything else. Like, they choose to be happy.
Totally.
You know, and they find joy in, like, the little things.
And they find joy outside of accomplishment. And when you expect so much of yourself, it does lead to disappointment, which is a negative emotion, which is not happiness. So, and it's hard to live without expectation, and kind of counterculture. Thank you. It's hard to do that, and it's also, you know, I'm not saying don't set goals, but it's also like, you know, having these expectations does lead to disappointment if they're
for sure. Like I had the expectation that, like, with the buddy pass, I had an expectation that I was going home.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I'm sitting here like, I have to spend another day in Rome. Like, literally listening to that phrase is so dumb. Like,
I know,
people back home are like, this guy,
first world
he's
problems.
Stranded in Rome, one of the worst places to ever get stranded.
Yeah.
Bet you won't have any fun. Bet you can't find any cool things to look at.
And if your expectation is I'm going home, it's hard to be happy with I'm in Rome.
Exactly.
That kind of rhymes.
And the funny thing is okay, so this is where I tend to be really good at being able to let go of my expectations. Like, and so it ends up with me being like pretty happy a lot of the time, you know? And like one of the things that happened with me with the buddy pass thing was me and Matthew, we were looking, and when we were on the list initially, we were both on there as like Delta 1 passengers or whatever. And so that's like the first class thing. And so my thing was like, I'm not going to get my hopes up about Delta 1. Like if it happens, it happens. Like that would be dope. But like if it doesn't, I'm not going to be mad. What I didn't have my expectation set for is not going home at all that day. Yes. It was more like, okay, well, if I don't make the first flight, I'm not going to be mad. If I don't make the second flight, I'm not going to be mad.
Totally.
But especially when my brother got it, and not only that, my brother got Delta 1.
Yes.
So my brother got first class, and I got nothing.
Exactly.
So it was like, it was so trivial and so dumb. It's like, it seems so stupid, but like in that moment, like I was just so defeated.
Yes.
And I was like, damn.
And it's really hard to enjoy Rome, even though you're in Rome and you can easily switch your mentality to be like, all right, I'm in Rome, let's do this. It's like my expectation didn't meet reality and now I'm disappointed. Versus, okay, I accept the reality, I can't control it, how can I make the best of it? And that's hard to do when you're in that situation.
Airports are a really good test of that because a lot of times like the gate agent can't do anything, the people can't do anything. Like we missed a flight, like the plane's gone. Like there's nothing anybody that's on the floor can say or do to get that plane to like turn around or open the door or whatever they got to do. There's no stink you can cause. There's no amount of money. Like they're gone. And so like you've got to make a conscious choice of like, am I going to have a pity party? Am I going to cry? Or am I just going to like accept my reality and like deal with it? Like you just got to be like, this happens a lot with delayed flights. People are like yelling at the gate agent and all this stuff. It's like, or you can just like choose to like sit down and have a moment to yourself, maybe go get some food, maybe like look at your phone or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe figure out how to make it a positive instead of being so wrapped up in like blaming somebody for your issue, because it's not like any one person's fault. You can take it out on the gate agent, but it's not their fault.
Totally.
And they can't do anything to fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's so many quotes out there that are like, operate within your means of control and like only get upset about the things you can control. But when you're put in that situation, it really tests that. Like, can you snap out of it, and can you actually be like, I can't control this, let me let it go and deal with what I can control. And that's a hard moment to be in.
Yeah. And there's definitely a difference between like reading a quote and being like, oh, that's a good quote, and like
And,
actually
living
like
it.
embodying it
Yeah.
and fully embracing it. Because I think it's always so funny when you walk into like someone's office and they're like super stressed out, but they've got all these like quotes everywhere and stuff, and it's like
are you really
should
living
read
any
a
of these
couple of
things?
these, you know, because I'm not the type of person that like posts up, you know, a lot of stuff like that. I would rather like try to, you know, that's a lot of the reason why I didn't always do great in
Yeah.
school, is like I'm not very good at like memorizing something, but if I learn it and know how to do it, like I'll be able to do it forever.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And
You're not the guy with the quotes. You're the guy that's like getting the tools and living it out.
Ooh.
Like it's more of like a tool that you're.
I feel like that's
doing.
like the like mantra of my podcast. I'm not the guy with the quotes. I'm the guy that's living it out. I like that. That's funny.
That's so funny. Yeah, but really, like you're using it as a tool versus just like something you plaster on a wall, which is the difference between personal development and coaching. A lot of personal development is just like putting stuff out there, and it's like take it or leave it. Like here's an idea for your life, and coaching is like, all right, tell me your deepest thing, and let's get into like why are you so disappointed with the fact that you couldn't leave? What is your relationship to like you know, stuff like that, and it's like let's implement this into your life. And it's like getting deep into your own intuition and like dealing with your shit, which is hard. You know,
For sure.
You're going within versus just like, let's listen to this podcast and let's listen to, not saying anything's wrong with podcasts, but like,
Yeah,
let's listen
podcasts
to-
are amazing. What are you talking
like,
about,
watch this
Chelsea?
book.
I'm just kidding.
Everybody watch this-
No, it's totally true. It's like paralysis of analysis. You're just like self-sabotaging because you just want to like, if I just read enough books, like it'll just happen.
Yeah.
Like it's
like information overflow. It's like, oh my God, I heard it 100 times already.
It's the whole
like,
concept of like ready, aim, and you never pull the trigger, you never fire. Like you're just studying business, you're just studying entrepreneurship, you're just reading
Yes.
books and like never actually pursuing
and never
anything on your
doing
own.
anything with the
Yeah.
information too.
Yeah.
Right? You're kind of just like, you learn it and then sometimes
Or,
you
like,
just like
buying
tell other people
courses.
and you don't actually do it.
Yeah, that's totally true. And like I know people that just like buy a bunch of online courses and take them and then like never take action or whatever, but it like makes them feel good and makes them feel like they're doing something.
People get addicted to that too.
Oh, for
I have a
sure.
couple clients that are like, I'm doing all these personal development things, and I'm like, okay, but like, what are you doing with it? Like, okay, I see that you're purchasing things and you're investing in yourself, but then what? Like, are
Yeah.
you know?
Like Gary Vaynerchuk straight up doesn't read books.
yeah, he
Like
doesn't.
he's like never even like read a book. He's like, I am kind of embarrassed, but like I've never read a book. And like he's one of the most like motivating, like badass
I'm
like
so
business
anti-Gary
people.
Vee.
Really? Like ever?
I used to like him, but he's all about like hard work, and then you'll get this. And for me, it's all like, are you living in alignment? And like,
I agree with that.
It's almost like if you're living in alignment, and so it's all about like the masculine, the feminine energy, like following.
you.
I know, right? I could
dare
go
you
on this
assume my
topic for a
energy.
while. No,
I'm
it's
just
not
kidding.
even that. Like I love to
I
have a
was just-
balance
it
of
was
both
a dumb joke.
energies, but he is so like hard work, like do this, and that's important to work hard, but it's all like, yeah, but like, are you living in alignment with what you want?
But see,
And,
the
like,
thing is like I think he
you
might
forcing it
be
to
truly
happen?
living in his alignment. Like
He is.
he
He
always
is.
and that's the thing for some people, like doing that and living the Gary Vee lifestyle like is living in alignment. But for me, it's not.
It's not, and
It's
that's
totally
why you
not.
listening to him and like people like you live in flow, right? That's why even you're saying you don't have expectations, because like even this podcast, there's no direction yet it's going really, really well, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you allow.
I think
It's going really well. I guess we can let them decide, but like it's like you allow things to come into your path because there's no goal, and it's not like you're not limiting yourself by saying, all right, here's point A, here's point B, here's my path to get there. It's like, all right, here's point A. We know where point B is, sort of like, let's get there, and it ends up being way cooler, and that's embodying the feminine. Or
Have you ever heard of the Tarzan method?
No, but tell me.
Okay, so the Tarzan method, I've talked about this quite a few times, but Casey Neistat introduced it to me. But the Tarzan method is, Tarzan is trying to get across the jungle. That's his goal, like to get to the other side of the jungle. And like the straightest path is like just straightforward. But like, there's no straightforward way through the jungle. You're gonna get lost, blah, 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 blah. Tarzan swings on vines. So he's gonna take one vine, and that vine's gonna lead him to another set of choices of vines. And then he's going to take one of those vines, and that's going to lead him to another set of vines. And he's going to have to act quickly and all this stuff, and maybe one of the vines is going to take him slightly backwards and whatever. But at the end of the day, you look at his path, it's like totally zigzagged, but he eventually gets to point B. Or maybe he...
Or better than point B.
Maybe he sees a waterfall on the right side, and he didn't even know about it, and he goes that way or whatever. And it's totally true. Like, you just got to go with the flow, because if you try to plan too hard, just like with a podcast, like a podcast... for me, is a conversation. It's not an interview. It's a conversation. So if I try to plan all these things, it's never going to go the way that I want it to. If I'm going to be like, okay.
And it's too controlling.
I'm going to ask her this question, and then I'm assuming she's going to talk about this, so then I'm going to segue into this, which then we're going to go down this rabbit hole, and then I'm going to segue into this. I don't even think about any of that shit. I'm like, okay, let's talk about these 4 main bullet points, and then anything else we talk about, sweet. Like,
yes.
You know, as long as we're not talking about something like so dumb that like no one's going to ever relate to it, then like, I don't care. Like, let's talk about it.
And the Tarzan method's cool. I really like that. And it's not about like getting from point A to point B randomly. It's about like allowing all of the people that you meet in your path to shape the future and to get to an amazing point B.
Yeah.
Because it's better than what you could have planned.
And being comfortable with that. Because people get like really in their head, they're like, oh, well, I really wanted to like have this job and be here by this point in my life, so like now I'm a failure, and like now, like I hate that.
It's
I
like
can't
they
stand
think they're
people
a
like
failure
that.
because they didn't get to it in this point in time or in this and this, when really that's not the point of life, right? Like you're supposed to have these experiences and you're supposed to do all these things, and if you start like, you know, embodying that in your life, you're way happier in the process versus just the destination.
I think a lot of it has to do with parental expectations too. Like a huge bit of it, a huge chunk. Said chunk. I used it. My new phrase. No, I'm just kidding. A huge chunk of it has to do with with parental expectations. Because if your parents are really cool, and like you decide to do something that they don't necessarily want, but like they realize that it's like something that you're really into or whatever, then that's awesome. I think a lot of parents like really just, like your parents, for example, could have been like, well, if you're not going to become a doctor, then you're disowned and we don't ever want to talk to you again. You know what I mean? Like some parents could be like that.
No, granted, my parents still are not happy that I left IBM to go pursue an entrepreneurial role. They're in medicine.
But they just want what's best for you, and they want like a stable thing.
They do. And they know to trust me because I've done those tests before, and they're like, okay, we've proven it before. We're not going to like totally. But still, my mom calls me pretty significantly like, hey, are you still alive? And I'm like, yes, I'm still alive. I'm still here.
I'm thriving, Mom.
I'm not thriving, but like I'm still
woke.
here.
I'm woke AF, Mom.
You know, but I mean, it's still, there's some expectation there that I'm still dealing with, but I'm okay with that. Like I honestly don't care anymore. But there is a point in time where it's like I did. So I was at IBM for such a long time, partly because I cared about what my parents thought, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, but I kind of want to do what I want, you know? But it takes a while to get there.
Yeah. I mean, like, when I dropped out of school, like, I had to be very comfortable with the fact that, like, my parents could totally cut me off, and, like, I've got to figure my shit out. And, like, I've got to really make sure this is what I want to do, because I could be kind of screwing myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, I think a lot of parents, like, actually really, like, I don't know if this is the right phrase for it, but they kind of get off on like being able to kind of control and mold their kid's life because they have this expectation of what their kids should and they want them to be, like kind of like the alumni parent, like, oh, well, I was in this sorority when I went to UGA, so I'm gonna convince, and it's not like maniacal, but like I want my daughter to have a similar experience, so I'm gonna get her to like rush this sorority and go to UGA and stuff, so then like I can, you know, be really, like, live out my, like, past awesome life and go to the games and, like, do all this stuff. And if they don't do that, then I'm going to, like, then I've raised a terrible child that doesn't like my ideas. Like, I feel like a lot of me dropping out of college was my dad especially kind of being offended at the idea that, like, almost insinuating, like, you went to college And I think your way is wrong. You know what I mean? Like accusatory, like just because I didn't go to school, like doesn't necessarily mean that I don't think that college is good for people. Like, you know, there's a time and place for it. But, you know, I think that he kind of took it as like a personal attack sort of like, like I want you to go to college because it was really good for me. And it was kind of like, I don't want to go to college anymore because I don't think it's good for me. You know what I mean?
So how did you deal with that? And what's your relationship with that now?
Oh, it's really good. My dad listens to like most of these podcasts. He's probably listening to this right now, which is interesting because I did not think that that was going to be the case. Cool. Because the first thing that came out of my dad's mouth when he sees the first one, he's like, 2 hours? And I'm like, yeah, it's 2 hours. Like, maybe you're not my target audience. Like, I basically said that.
Yeah.
It was really funny. But like, now he listens to them because...
Cool.
Lots of people listen to podcasts for 2 hours.
So what's one thing that you tell your dad from that? Did that really help you support you and stuff? Because that's really important. Like, I'm really into relationships between parent and child because I think at a certain age, you start to become friends with, or you try to become friends with your parents versus just seeing them as parents.
Oh, for sure.
It's super cool going through that
this is what happened. Like, when I dropped out of college, I wrote them a letter that I was going to eventually, like, read to them. So I wrote them this whole thing explaining... I made a post on Instagram about this. If you want to like read the beginning part of it, I think I posted the beginning. The end was like slightly cringy, and I kind of didn't want to post it
after this call.
What?
We should repost it after this podcast.
Yeah, maybe we should. But
unless it's really personal.
No, it's not like super personal. I was a little bit dumb with some of the wording that I used, but I was trying to be a little bit like polarizing. I don't know. But I wrote this whole thing to my parents basically explaining like all the reasons why I didn't want to go to school anymore and why I didn't think it was for me and what I was going to do. And I did it. And like right off the bat, like my mom was like super supportive and my dad was like the world is ending kind of thing. Like because I think a lot of what parents' expectations are not even necessarily just because they want their kid to be I could be totally wrong on this. I'm not a parent, but like they don't necessarily just want their kid to be the best they can be. They also want to feel accomplished, like they raised a good kid, and sometimes those expectations are tied into what their friends think and what they say about you. And oh, so what's Johnny up to? Oh, well, Johnny's pursuing his master's in this, and he's at UGA and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Johnny's depressed as fuck and doesn't actually know what he wants to do. I know, right? But it's just like a check mark that the parents can say at Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, as long as I can say this thing that seems prestigious and seems great, like I raised a good kid. But like, is your kid really happy? Like, does your kid actually feel fulfilled? Have you actually asked Johnny what he wants to do? Or did you just tell him that he's going to be able to make a lot of money doing that?
Totally. And how did you get past that?
My mom is like very similar to me, like very free, like very flow. Like my mom has done like so many different things. My mom's been involved in a lot of different stuff, and like I definitely relate to her a lot on that level. So my mom was super supportive right off the bat, and
your dad married her, so he respects that anyways.
Yeah, but sometimes like, you know, it's like type A, type B type of thing. Like the type A person like can't stand the type B person because they don't have a plan and they don't have a schedule and they don't know what they're doing. So and the type B person is like, we'll figure it out. Like, if stuff goes wrong, who cares? And like, you know, and I'm very like that. And so, I don't know, sometimes it's just butting heads, but sometimes they've just got to learn to respect it and like they know that they're not going to change you. I don't know. So
now, what's your dad's perception? Does he still have that same sort of mentality around it?
I don't know.
Have you asked?
I just don't want to open that can of worms, to be honest. Like, maybe after you listen to this podcast, we'll talk about it. But, like, I don't know. Like, sometimes we'll be like, so what's your, like, 5-year plan? I'm like, I don't know my 1-year plan, dude. Like, I just started this podcast. Like, maybe I'll keep doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that having the goal of, like, instead of having a 5-year plan, like, in 5 years, I want to have a house, and I want to be married, and I want to have kids. Because, like, that's setting expectations that are probably not going to come true. And then that's just asking for myself to be, like, sad about that.
Yeah.
And instead, having a goal of like, I want to like live my truth and like be happy and like
do one step at a time.
Do what constantly makes me happy. And like maybe what makes me happy today, like creating videos or something, isn't. Maybe I get burned out of that, and like maybe in a couple months I realize that's not what I want to do forever, and maybe it's just something that's like cool right now or whatever. And people evolve and people change, and like I don't think you can expect yourself to, you know, the 20-year-old me to have the same interests as 50-year-old me. Like I don't think that's going to happen at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the things I like to explore in this podcast is like, why did the person that you are today, like, become the person that you are today? Like, what life experience did you have that turned infant Chelsae into Chelsae of today? Like, you weren't born, like, knowing what you wanted to do. Heck, you just started doing this, like, recently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just taking experiences.
Yeah.
And
that's why it's so hard to nail down what my podcast is about, because I think people are like, oh, cool, what's your podcast about? And it's like, it's very easy to just be like, it's about fitness, and I talk to people who are fit. You know what I mean? It's like, it's about everything. It's about life.
It's about your life story, and getting to where you want to. I think you just said it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's finding out how people got to where they are.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, when I was selling Cutco to all those doctors, my reason was I wanted to find out what doctor I wanted to be. And
but in the process, maybe you realized that you didn't want to be a doctor at all.
And I ended up really liking sales in the process, exactly. And the thing is, I could have never planned me being a coach. I didn't even know that was a thing, right? But it was like me being open to the opportunities.
I didn't know what a chunk was.
And the thing is, like, it's okay to take it one step at a time and not have that 5-year plan. But it's also even better when you accept that and you're okay with that yourself. Because then it's like, yeah, Dad, I don't have a 5-year plan, but here's the thing. This is why. Like, I don't need a 5-year plan. There's so much more opportunity in the 1-year plan. And if you want me to have a 5-year plan, that's fine. I can make some bullshit up in a year. The world will be changed and maybe an iPhone won't exist. But I'll tell you what, here's my 1-year plan. This is what I'm doing now. This is what makes me happy. And iPhone didn't even exist 10 years ago. My first job was creating iPhone apps. You really want me to tell you that I knew what I was going to do in 10 years? Hell no.
Yeah.
Right? But that's the point of life. Like, just flow with it.
Yeah,
and that's okay. It's not. I think our culture sometimes puts that down. I feel like I'm yelling right now.
It's okay. You're passionate.
I'm getting passionate.
You're fired up.
I think a lot of times our culture puts that down. Like, you don't have a 5-year plan. Like, you're sitting in an if anyone ever asked me in an interview, and hopefully I'll never have to interview again, but if someone ever asked me, what's your 5-year plan? I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, what's your 5-year plan? Do you really want me to tell you that?
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing about, like, with my dad. It's like my dad has reached, like, a point of stability. He's got, his own thing going on. So it's like, if I turn around and ask that question, he's probably just gonna be like, well, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, like, save money, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm in the point of my life where I'm trying to still figure all that out and do all that and reach that point.
You're exploring.
Yeah, for example, one of my biggest things is traveling. Like, my dad, I see him. Like, he can't travel like me because his knees are bad. You know what I mean? And that's because he's, like, it's not because of anything that he did or anything wrong necessarily, but it's like, I don't want to end up being like, oh, cool, now I'm finally retired, and now my body's breaking down, and I can't do all the fun things I wanted to do.
Yes.
And I don't even really want to do them anymore because I'm feeling tired all the time
that
and
is
stuff.
Huge.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what's the point? That was, like, what I learned in Vima. That, like, gave me that biggest realization is, like, why not become rich now? Why wait until you're 50 to do all the things you want to do when you can't even enjoy them? Like, do the things you want to do now. And, like, we're blessed enough to live in a first world society where, like, if shit does hit the fan, like, my parents aren't going to let me become homeless. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like,
the government. I mean, the government.
Yeah,
at
like,
this point in America, like,
Yeah, like, there's things that will
there's
happen.
So many
like,
things in place.
And this is the other thing.
Here's the best thing. You can always live on your friend's couch. I had a friend living on my couch for a year, starting up a photography business, and now he's super successful. But there are people in your life that will always be there.
Yeah,
and
as long as you don't let them down, like, a lot of times with, like, the homeless thing, a lot of times with the homeless thing, it's like the relationships that you have, like, a lot of people are tired of constantly being let down by you and, like, you taking advantage of them and stuff. And, like, you want to feel bad for people like that, but it's like, you may have burned the bridges that you had. And, like, that's the thing. Like, Umama talked about how, like, she knows that even if she, everything goes to shit with her business or whatever, she has so many awesome connections that she's never going to be without an opportunity or without a job. And I'm the same way. Like, even just through this podcast and, like, through the people that I know and the relationships that I have, I know that if, like, shit hits the fan and, like, I get robbed and, like, all my equipment is gone and, like, all this stuff, I know that I'll have something. Like,
so out of all the risks that I've taken, that's the biggest thing that has helped me. Knowing that I have people in my life that I can fall back on if I need to. Not putting that pressure or expectation on anyone else, but it's kind of like, I know that I have such good friends, And like I can do that if anything were to happen. And that gives me security. Like everyone needs grounding when they're taking a risk. That's my grounding.
What if people are like listening out there and they're like, well, I don't have any like solid friends like that. Like how do you teach that?
The first thing you can, it's not something you teach, you go out and do something. I created Tribe 29 partly because I didn't want to create a business alone. So I have all these entrepreneurial women that are also building a business. It's my mastermind. So I have a mastermind group that I'm doing this with, and we're all doing it together. And like you just create it. You go out there, and if it's like, define who it is that you want to hang out with, and then create it. I wanted to hang out with entrepreneurial people. I really liked people that were into consciousness and spirituality, and I went out there and I created that. Or if you don't, join something that exists. Go on Instagram, like be proactive and just find a group out there of people that are doing this. Everybody wants friends. Nobody can have enough friends, right? Like, I mean, really, you can't. I mean, I'm pretty cautious. Like, I like to have my group, but I'm always into meeting someone new.
Oh, for sure. I'm like definitely a testament of that. I mean, like we met like what 5-6 months ago. You know what I mean?
2 months.
Was it 2 months? No. When was the HX Fitness thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was May 28th.
Whoa.
Yeah. You're like, what? That was in May? Like, I thought that was like last week.
Also, the fact that you know the date. I really like that. All right, we made on May. My birthday was May 29th.
No, my birthday's May 28th.
My birthday's May 29th.
I think we talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
Because you came to my birthday thing and I was like, it's your birthday. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
We're Geminis.
We had this
We're
conversation.
twins.
So the guy that I started, the guy that's doing Raw for a Cause, his birthday's May 28th too.
There we go.
So crazy. All right.
But that wasn't the first time we met, because remember we met at HX Fitness before that.
Okay.
So it was like a couple weeks before that.
Oh, your birthday. I thought the event was on May 28th.
No.
Okay, obviously you remember the date of your birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
We were on different planes there.
Yeah, we were. I was like, you remember the date? And you're like, it's my birthday. I was like, well.
I'm so bad with dates, so like, no, I did not remember the date.
I was like, wow,
but it was like at least like a couple weeks before that. So it was like, 5-6 months ago.
Yeah, so in May. And now it's October.
That's true. So it's the 10th month. So it was like 5 months ago. Yeah.
That's cool. We met 5 months ago. Anyways, friends.
Yeah.
We're friends now.
And that's the thing. And actually, it's funny because I actually remember like talking to you like at my birthday thing, and I was like thinking, I was like, I don't really know much about this girl, but she seems really interesting, and like she probably would be someone cool on my podcast. And like I think even like somebody mentioned it to me as well, like, oh, you should talk to Chelsae on your podcast. Oh yeah. And then we were at that Creative Curve book launch thing together.
Yes.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's so crazy. All these people together that have like, Alan was on my podcast and Morgan was on my podcast. I'm like,
cool.
You know, I was like, Chelsea's kind of in that group too. And then like, but it was cool because then we had the thing in Amsterdam, and then you had this whole thing where you quit your job. So it was like the perfect timing. Like if I would have asked you to be on my podcast back then, it would have been a way different podcast.
Thank you, universe.
Right?
I know, right?
Yeah. So anyways.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Can that be the title of this podcast?
Definitely. I like that. I am always in need of titles for podcasts.
Oh
I
my
need to start
gosh.
this recording again. Okay, I kind of have to pee really bad, so let's
Okay.
wrap things up.
Yes,
okay.
me too.
So, and we've talked for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh, this is a long.
How long did you think it was?
All right, Andrew's dad, it's a 2-hour podcast again. Are you gonna watch the whole thing?
Hey.
I guess we won't
But
know
see,
it.
but here's the thing. If people have gotten to this point in the podcast, unless they randomly skip to this point, they are in. You know what I mean? Like they like it. They like you, they like us, you know? They're into it. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm like so not into astrology and stuff like that.
I'm so into astrology.
I know. So I knew that like saying that, I was like, this is gonna be a good one. But like I am not
I love
into it at all.
astrology.
But anyways, okay.
Yeah.
But
all right, we can wrap it up.
no, but like I don't mean like, okay, right now we're gonna end it, but I mean like let's wrap things up in the sense of like
We'll flow with it.
let's put a bow on things. What is your like kind of I guess like closing message to people? Like what is that final thing you want people to know or whatever?
Okay, I do have a message. I think it's if you're doing something right now that you're not passionate about and you know there's something out there that you could be or you are passionate about, find out what is it that you love, what are you good at, what does the world need, and what can you make money with, and find that intersection of all 4 of those things. Because that's how you find your reason for being, and that's how you align your mind with your heart. So I really just... Yeah.
It's easier said than done for sure.
It takes a lot of digging and a lot of asking yourself the right questions. Maybe
because people were probably like, well, that's easy for you to say.
Yeah,
but
true. It takes a lot of work, right? It takes a lot of work. Sometimes you can speed that process up by like going online and like figuring out, getting a coach to have them ask you the right questions. Having your friends ask you these questions, going online and like Googling like, how do I find my purpose? I'm sure something will come up. But like, whatever you're doing, just try to be in alignment with it and at least do things, even if it's just like taking one step. You really like videos and you really like shooting videos, editing videos, follow that. Like seriously, like there's something there. Your soul likes that for a reason. Mine doesn't like that. I'd rather pay you to do it. You know?
Exactly.
Like,
and that's the hard thing for people to realize is like, I'm a do-it-yourselfer. Like I'm always like, I'd rather just try to figure it out myself than like pay somebody. And that sometimes leads to me being really frustrated and like just giving up. But there's a lot of other people out there that are like, I am not a do-it-yourselfer.
Yeah.
I'd much rather pay someone to try to do that. And then sometimes that's a hard like mental block for me to get over is like, holy shit, people are willing to pay me like way more than I feel like I deserve to do this thing just because they don't want to even try to do it themselves.
Exactly.
What?
And also finding out what it is. Like, would you do accounting?
No, fuck that.
The thing is, you'd pay someone to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So finding out what it is that you really like doing, and the people will pay you to do it. Because not everybody loves making videos. I get frustrated editing videos, right? Like I try.
I used to think that I hated editing videos, but what I realized was I didn't hate editing videos. I hated the fact that I didn't understand the software.
Yes.
And like once
cool.
you understand, it's like I don't hate like French, I just don't know how to speak it. You know what I mean? Like I don't hate French people, I just don't know how to communicate with them because I can't speak French. Like, you know what I mean?
Conscious incompetence and then switching that to conscious
competence.
competence.
And the only way that you can get better though is getting through that shitty part of it sucking. You know what I mean? Like kind of like the bad haircut phase. Like the only way you can get back to like a good haircut is like just letting it grow out, and it's gonna suck, but like, you know, eventually you're gonna have a beautiful head of hair again. But like you get that shitty haircut and you're just like, oh my gosh, this blows, my life is over, my hair looks dumb, everyone who looks at me thinks I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? But really, like no one really gives a shit. Like everyone's just living their life. Tons of people have bad hair and everyone still respects them. Kind of. But
you said it, not me.
Yeah, but where was I going with that?
But it's about like really appreciating the process and not just the destination, and that goes back to your expectations around it. Like thinking you're gonna like learn French on day one, or just appreciating the process of learning French, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like maybe you really don't like the process, or maybe you just learned to like the process and you like the end result of it.
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
just, like,
that's where I am with videos.
You know,
like when I make a dope video, like I watch the end result like so many times. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. Oh, that's so sweet. I made that. Like that's sick. You know what I mean? And like in the meantime of making it, you're starting from scratch. You're like, ugh, I hate it because I'm like, I know that I'm gonna have to get sucked into this for like 20 hours, but at the end, I'm gonna make a sweet video.
That's
so the
cool.
payoff better be awesome.
Yeah.
And that's why like I realized I can't just take clients from anybody because sometimes the end result product video is not even something that I want to like waste my time doing. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to waste my time making like educational videos for like doctors or something. Like like that, I'm not passionate about that. Like that's a cool thing. Like that's needed, but like I don't want to do that.
And
anyways.
like, exactly. And like going inside, going internally and asking yourself the questions, what have I done in the past? What do I like about it? What do I not like about it? Like, you know, just like really asking yourself questions, because I think that's the biggest thing. Like questioning the why.
Asking the right questions too.
Yeah, asking the right questions and like really being in touch with like the feeling behind it. Like what does this give me? What feeling do I want to generate? Like what gives me this feeling? And like, yeah, just really thinking about it. It takes work. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but like you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Very awesome. I like that little tied bow on the whole podcast. Now it's plug time. Tell us where we can find you, all that good stuff. Where can people sign up for your things and follow you?
Okay, you could do ChelsaeZirna.com. Yep, you can do Instagram, Tribe29. And you can just reach out to me on Facebook. I'm here.
Tell us like a little bit about your retreat, because I think this podcast will be out before then. So if people are interested in your Bali retreat or whatever.
So it's specifically for women, entrepreneurial women or women that want to get into entrepreneurship. But on the last day of the retreat, I'm opening it up and I'm having speakers from all over the world come, because a lot of them are going to be in Bali because we're all traveling together. But on the last day, they're going to speak about consciousness and entrepreneurship, because they're all entrepreneurship people who travel and they're really into consciousness. And I'm going to open it up to everybody. So technically you could go to Bali and travel and just be there on that day. And then that night we're going to do an ecstatic dance. So I am launching a new thing pretty soon. Actually, by the time this is out, it'll be launched. It's called Dance Call. Every Monday, start your morning with a morning ecstatic dance which is basically you just put on tribal music, or I put on tribal music. I'll have a DJ. It'll be a different DJ every time to promote local DJs, actually international DJs. There's nothing local about this. And we connect a lot of digital nomads who are traveling together, and you just dance to the music and you're not watching anybody, and it's just you getting into your own body, into your intuition.
Do we
and
get
it's
naked?
a 30-minute call. It's a self-expression, so you can if you want to.
No one's looking at me, right?
No one's looking. You can get naked. People do that.
We didn't talk about Burning Man. That'll be a different podcast.
That'll be a different podcast.
But yeah,
people do get naked at Burning Man.
There we go.
So yeah,
for better or for worse.
So feel free to join that, and it's basically starting your Monday off, and we do 3 intentions. So you set 3 intentions for the week, and you manifest those intentions as you're dancing. So if you're interested in joining, you could join the Facebook group, dance call.
So is it like a live stream thing? Everyone's like agreeing
it's
to
a
like
Zoom
dance?
Call. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's on the East Coast, it's going to be at 8 a.m.
Can you put on whatever music you want, or do you listen to your music?
It's going to be the DJ, so different
Oh,
DJ.
gotcha.
So there's like 5 sets, 5 songs that is their set, and it's usually like tribal EDM.
Cool.
That's the genre. Yeah.
Because I definitely, sometimes I just need to crank on some crazy dubstep and do that.
Right? And it's so amazing getting into and sometimes it looks weird when you're doing it by yourself, so when you're doing it with other people, it's a totally sober event, and it's 8 a.m., so obviously. And it's Monday morning, and it's just like a really good way to drop in your body.
8 a.m. EDM. Oh! Because I thought you said EDM at first. You're like, it's EDM. No one's sober. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
I love that.
And then you're like, no, it's 8 a.m. so everyone's sober.
8 a.m. EDM. It's an international podcast, so it'll be a different time zone for everyone. But for East Coast, 8 a.m. EDM.
There we go. I just gave you the most genius name ever.
This is what happens when you flow.
That is what happens when you flow. Chelsae, thank you for being on the show. And we'll see you later, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Boom. There you have it, peeps. If you enjoyed this episode, I think that you would really enjoy listening to episode 98 with my friend Claudia Jakubiak. She's an avid traveler who's constantly seeking to deepen her connections and have a better understanding of the world. And she has a travel blog called The Travel Critic, where she shows her followers the best places to eat, stay, and play all over the world. And on that episode, we talked about coming here as a Polish immigrant, learning English, and her battle with depression in college, why traveling has become so important to her mental health and confidence and her purpose, and so much more. That episode was episode 98, I believe I said. So go check that one out. If you enjoyed this episode, I think you'll really enjoy it. And you definitely will. Episode 104 is coming up next with Dr. Wayne Bloodworth, who's the founder and chairman of the Surgery Center for Female Genital Mutilation. And you're not alone if you've never heard of the phrase female genital mutilation, but just because you've never heard of it doesn't mean that it isn't one of the most prevalent, emotionally and physically demeaning evils that is present in the world today. And 30 million women and children around the world are at risk in the next 10 years of falling victim to this inhumane practice. And actually, Dr. Bloodworth has done more than 35 years of surgical experience, and including training under the French doctor who actually pioneered this reconstruction technique for FGM patients. And that technique is actually only performed by a very, very limited number of surgeons worldwide. It's like just a handful. And most people don't even know that this treatment is out there. And this was definitely an episode that was a little bit out of my comfort zone, and that's actually why I took it in the first place. And it's just a really important topic to raise awareness for. It's one of those things that it's really uncomfortable to talk about. People don't want to bring it up. It's not a very fun party convo, but hopefully this conversation will raise awareness for this epidemic that you've probably never even heard of. And that episode will be coming out next week, so definitely stay tuned for that. If you want to support the show, then I would really appreciate it if you shared this episode with a friend. You know, word of mouth is the number one way that this podcast grows. I normally ask for iTunes ratings and reviews and all that stuff. So if you haven't rated and reviewed on iTunes, that really helps us. But honestly, if you just share this episode with a friend who you think would enjoy it, that really goes a long way. That's how this really grows. If you want to follow me on social media, you can go to my website, andrewdeitch.com. You can find all the links to my social... You can find all the links to there, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about. That is pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, you're a hardcore fan. You listened all the way to the end. I really appreciate you. And if you didn't know already, I choose the funniest moment of the podcast to put in the very, very end, last few seconds of the podcast. So enjoy the funniest thing I thought. It made me laugh. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you guys next week. Sounds like a guy named Jim's nickname. Like,
Jim
what up, Jim Dog? What up, Jim Dog? How's it going, Jim?
Exactly. Jimbo.